Hey guys, how's it going? So, if you haven't heard, Liam Neeson is a big racist. It was revealed today on, earlier, a couple days ago on an interview he did, trying to talk about a movie. But, obviously, no, he's not racist. The only problem that he really has is that he is too honest, right? He was too honest about his experiences, and that's what got him in hot water. He should realize that you can't be too honest as a white person on Twitter. I mean, to the media, to the journalists, etc., because they're going to use that to smear you. And if you're not actively coming out and always promoting leftist causes, always saying how bad Trump is and how terrible white people are, and always virtue signaling, then you're not really going to get a pass, right? If you're Robert Byrd and you're in the KKK and all this stuff, that's totally fine if you promote leftist causes. If you're Hillary Clinton, you carry hot sauce around your purse or whatnot, that's not racist. If you're Elizabeth Warren and you lie about being an Aboriginal to get benefits and stuff in university and get promoted, use that to further your status, then that's not a problem because she is on the left. But 40 years ago, Liam Neeson had a few thoughts that were racist or could be deemed racist, and people don't want to forgive him for it. And it's funny that that's why you never ask for an apology. You don't ever say you're sorry to the left, because even when you do, they're not going to forgive you. And like I said, if you're not promoting their causes, then it doesn't matter. Even if you were sorry 40 years ago, and you're the whole point of the story was about how it was wrong to be prejudiced and wrong to be tribalistic and whatnot, but everybody just completely ignores that just to I don't know, hate on him or whatever. But this just has another racial aspect to it, a racial dimension to it that people are playing on right now. And it's a really polarized society we're in at the moment, especially with race. So, this is essentially just going to be used by journalists and stuff to write clickbaity articles saying Liam Neeson wanted to kill black people. Read this, and it'll further. And then people will be reading it. They'll be like, "Oh, well, see, this is just normal, everyday shit that goes on. All white people think like this. Blah blah blah. We need to boycott his movies now and everything that he comes out with, because we'd be supporting a racist if not." But it's just pretty funny. But hey, Miss C Gypsy, how's it going? Hope you're having a good day so far. But yeah, there was a bunch of tweets I got from Twitter, people just raging on him and stuff. And, it just makes me laugh because there's so much racism coming from, or so much generalization coming from the left about Trump supporters or white people, anybody that wears like a MAGA hat. And, you see what happened to that kid after he stared at Nathan Phillips. People wanted to like burn down that school and do like school shootings and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, people are ridiculous. But yeah, there's a few people in right now. Hey, Friedrich, how's it going, buddy? Hope you're having a good day. Well, yeah, I just can't. This has been going on for a couple days. It started, yesterday. Now he came out, did an interview on Good Morning America, where she was trying to like say, well, you apologized and all this, and this is all great, but do you really acknowledge that what you said really hurt black people and it was really, really bad, really hurt them deep to the core? And do you really understand? Are you really sorry for that? It was like, are you kidding me? Like, how thin-skinned are people that they can't handle a little bit of honesty, saying that like, when this black guy raped this friend of mine, I decided to go out in the streets looking to get in a fight with a black guy, right? And he never said that he was, like, he never started the altercation. He was hoping somebody would start one with him, and then he would just start fighting back. But the whole point of the story, like, he was, the girl asked him, what do you think, or how do you get into a role for a movie? How do you, get in that state of mind? And he recounted the story of how, he felt super vengeful at that time, and then later on he calmed down. But clearly he shouldn't have said this story to this woman, because, yeah, they're going to edit it, make it look as bad as possible. And now he's going to do this whole apology thing. It's just funny. And all these people just virtue signaling on Twitter, like, oh my God, I can understand wanting to fight somebody or kill somebody who, raped your friend or something, but to go after somebody because of their race and whatnot. It's like, this happens constantly. Like, what are you people talking about? People do this all the time. Doesn't mean it's right, but people that act like this is like unbelievable. It's crazy. You're like, what the hell? Yeah, exactly. Never apologize, because once you apologize, you're fucked. 40 years ago. Yeah. Well, no, his statement was recently, but he was recounting something that happened to him 40 years ago, where this girl told him that she was raped, and he asked, like, who was it? The girl's like, I don't know. And then he later asked, like, what was the race of the guy? She said that he was black. So then he, throughout that week, was going around pubs and stuff, hoping that a black guy would get in a fight with him, so then he could, like, exact his revenge, right? And, like, get in a fight, maybe beat him up, or etc. So, his whole point of the story was, it was wrong of him to do that. And, hey, Eric Butler, how's it going, buddy? Not too much. Just looking on Twitter, looking through the hate replies and all the virtue signaling on Twitter from all these leftists, talking about how it's unbelievable that he could say such a thing. Liam Neeson. Oh, shit. 1 sec. I just deleted my page here. I got to bring it back up. I still got to figure out how to link the chat in the original Google Hangouts thing, because what I got to do is I got to open up another page and look at it through a different screen. So here, 1 sec. So I can see the chat, but otherwise I don't get to see it, and it's kind of annoying. Let's see here. Help AJ all you can. Hit that like. Oh yeah, guys, hit that like button. Thank you, man. But I'll read a few of the comments because they were pretty funny. This is like, if you look on Moments on Twitter, this is trending on the Moments thing. The designated Twitter trending. And where's this girl? She starts going in on him and bitching at him. But it's here. This is a writer for the BuzzFeed UK, and she's like, she does a quote by him. She's like, but my immediate reaction was, I asked, did she know who it was? No. What color were they? She said it was a black person. Not how old they were, how tall they were. You just asked what color they were. I don't care how sorry you are, Liam Neeson. That is disgusting. But he actually did ask how tall they were, how short they were, etc. But the story didn't cover that. They didn't mention that. They just mentioned him going to search for a black man, because obviously it's clickbait. And then somebody responded to her. He's like, he heavily implied his reaction was wrong, that him going out blaming a race for the actions of an individual is wrong. I'm not missing that. I understood it as he meant for it to be understood. I read between the lines. And then she responded, I understand that need for revenge, but it just leads to more revenge, to more killing and more killing. Sure, if you want to read, I unequivocally denounce my past racism into that because it suits your agenda, then fine. But we shouldn't have to read between the lines. So, yeah, because he didn't come out and say, oh, I unequivocally denounced racism, then, he didn't say it. But if you just listen to what he said, that's what he clearly is saying. But, these leftist BuzzFeed workers that are probably going to lose their jobs soon because they're terrible at it, are doing this on purpose to smear people. Just clickbaity headlines. That's all it is. Hey, Gator, how's it going, buddy? This is halal free channel. Yeah, exactly. Halal free. Why are you not working? It's still, we had a crazy fucking snow thing, and it's still crazy right now because that polar vortex. Plus, I'm roofing, so I'm not working, and I'm like fucking just scraping by on what money I do have right now. Why are you not working and paying taxes and bring more inbred, uneducated, unskilled, undesirable, intolerant Muslims to Canada? Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'll start doing that more. I'll pay my YouTube tax. But she goes on arguing with this guy, and she is blatantly not understanding what he's saying. She's doing it on purpose to promote her agenda. And he goes, some other guy responds, agree that it shouldn't have to be inferred, but it's not like this was a prepared statement. It's possible he is aware of and does denounce the racist aspects of his actions, intending this story to show this and just did not convey it well enough. And she's like, quite possibly, hard to know seeing the full interview transcript, yada, yada, yada. But she's sticking to her story that he's a racist and that he should have condemned it by now. And you're like, oh, these people are ridiculous. It's never going to be good enough for them. Slow day on the market here, up a couple $100. Oh, nice. You're doing some trading. What do you use to trade? Like what program are you using to do trading with? Is it like a free one, a paid one, or what? Are you trading in pot right now? I know. I had this one guy that went to my grandma's, and he was saying that like he's investing in pot right now, and he was making some money. Q trade. Okay. I might check that out. Put a little bit of money in there. Best in Canada. Okay. We got a few more tweets here that I saved on where is that? My notepad. I thought they were just pretty funny. Like a lot of it's just virtue signaling. But this is Shanita Hubbard, a verified Twitter account. Racism and white privilege is so pervasive. Liam Neeson felt comfortable enough to tell the whole world he walked around a community in search of a random black person to provoke and kill because he was angry. He probably anticipated this would come with no consequences, and he might be right. So what is this woman implying here? That he should suffer consequences for something he thought 40 years ago? So he needs to suffer consequences for a thought crime. That's essentially what the fuck she is saying. She's like, he felt okay to come and tell his story and be honest and make himself a little bit vulnerable and expose himself to the leftists and stuff. Yeah, well, I guess he's going to learn, or he's learning now, that was not a good idea. But, it's just funny to see the reaction from these people. And you're like, oh my God, it's just the victim narrative of some people. It just baffles me. It's like, oh, how did he feel? He knew there would be no consequences, and he might be right. So all these people, they're going to now boycott anybody that promotes him. They're going to boycott his movies. They're going to do everything because 40 years ago, a black man raped his fucking friend, and he had some bad thoughts. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, you know how many goddamn things I see of people who are always blaming the past actions of white people for the current actions of today, constantly being like, oh, terrorism is because white people are racist towards white people and they're bombing people in the Middle East. Well, a lot of other people in these countries, in Canada and all these other countries that suffer terrorism, are not bombing you and that, but people often write pieces saying that like, oh, well, it's understandable that these people are doing this because of the way that the West is treating them and stuff, but they're blaming a whole group of people, whole race of people, for what a small group of people are doing. And, there was that guy in 2008, that football player who like raped that white girl, pissed on her, and said, this is for 400 years of slavery, right? Pissed on her face, raped her, filmed it. And I guarantee you there was way less outrage about that and about what he did. There's probably a lot of people writing like, well, it's understandable because there was a lot of there is a legacy of slavery and all this stuff. But this, he thought a bad thought 40 years ago. He needs to be condemned. We need to completely ruin him. He better donate $10 million to the NAACP immediately, and he better do all of this shit. I saw one person, they tweeted a picture of like Mel Gibson and somebody else. Like, oh, see, these people said racist things and they still have a job. See, this is an example of white supremacy and how we live in a white supremacist society because these people feel that they can say these things and they get away with it. You gotta be fucking kidding me, man. People say the most racist shit about white people and get away with it. Was that Chong girl who works for the Washington Post, New York Times, said the most racist shit about white people like a year ago on Twitter, and she's fine. She didn't get her Twitter account removed. She still got a job. Nobody's going out on Twitter right now asking for her to be, her job to be removed and all that other crap. But because Liam Neeson is white, this is the reason, right? This is the main reason they're going after him. Somebody who's black could say practically whatever they want about white people. They're not going to be condemned for it. They say something like vengeful. There was a quote from James Baldwin, who's always revered by like a lot of people and is always like, I see always tweets about him. They're like, oh, James Baldwin this, but he's like, there is, I should think, no Negro living in America who has not wanted to smash any white face he may encounter in a day, to violate out of motives of cruelest vengeance their women, to break the bodies of all white people. So direct quote from him, directly acknowledging that, yes, people who have suffered at the hands of other people of another group or race will most likely have feelings like this. And it's not like incredible to feel that, or like it's not insane to think that way. And I don't know what the rest of the quote was, but he's probably like, that, yeah, like that's wrong, we shouldn't react like this. But this is a natural reaction for people to have when one group victimizes another group. We are naturally tribalistic people and creatures. Everybody is, but the only people that are not allowed to think that way and do that are white people, clearly, because as soon as they become tribalistic and think in those types of terms, then you're going to have all these people come out, condemn him, and he's going to have to go. He's now on Borning America, explaining his actions and trying to convince people that he's not a racist. And you're like, oh my God, like this is so ridiculous. All you people are ridiculous. And here's Charles M. Below. He's another verified Twitter account. He's all over Twitter complaining about this. And he so many tweets about it. He's like, I have heard this argument tonight. Well, isn't it better that Liam Neeson admitted his racism and called it awful rather than be like others and hide it? And then he's like, the logical extension of this line of reasoning is that contemplation of racial murder is widespread. I reject that. So no, that's not the logical extension of his line of reasoning. That's your logical extension of his line of reasoning. That, racial murder is widespread. And you know what? That it is. A lot of this racial tribalism is fucking widespread. I don't know what he's talking about. And then here's another thing. Could Will Smith confess to stalking the streets of Los Angeles for a whole week, searching for random white people to kill and get a pass? Exactly. Yeah, he probably could. If he said that that's what he thought 40 years ago because a white man raped his black friend, I can bet 100% that people would be like, well, that's understandable. And clearly he's changed and he said that was wrong and it's against that. If anything, there would be people saying like, oh no, he should still feel this way and all that crap. There'd be articles from The Root or something saying that, oh, he's a pussy, blah, 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 right? You're like, oh my God. But what was I saying here? My cat's being a little annoying bastard here. Come on, cat, go underneath there. John Keaton, well, you'd be surprised what news is and how stocks are affected. Like terrorism stagnates a country, best in a Muslim country with say, bacon sandwiches. Yeah, right. I don't think anybody's going to be investing in South Africa soon after what they're doing with land expropriation and all that shit. It's like, yeah, this is going to be a safe investment. I'm going to buy a property in South Africa. Nah, you know, they're completely going to destroy their economy because of that, because they're taking people's land that's been their land for a long time. That's just lets you know, okay, you can't trust that government. It's not a safe investment. There's no point. Jada on her show when she's racist against white people admits it. Yeah, right. I listened to his wife, you know, Will Smith, like, these people are openly racist against white people. There's open racist, and everybody's losing their shit about Liam Neeson trying to show some honesty and put himself in a vulnerable state because, yeah, like that, saying what he said, maybe he didn't realize it, but to the people like that, that's just leaving yourself wide open. But it should be something that people listen to and are like, yeah, I understand what he means. And he's kind of saying how it's bad and how we shouldn't be kind of like punishing the group of people for the actions of one, right? And that's a good message. And people are like, oh, anybody who's saying he's a good man for this is missing the whole point. He didn't denounce his racism, blah, blah, blah. My cat, he's being a little fucker. He's like trying to get underneath the blankets to sleep or something. But let's see here. I got some more of the tweets saved because a lot of them are just ridiculous and stupid. Here's Charles Blow again. Or no, that was it for him. But he had some more I just didn't bother saving because I was like, this guy's a retard. Liam Neeson, here's... okay, Liam Neeson, you can thank whatever gods there may be that I'm on a book leave and not writing a column right now. I would clear all this up. You are no hero for your admission. You are a representative of racial terror. Like, oh my God, man. It's these people, like, they think they're so freaking oppressed and terrorized as black people because they're like, oh, they believe, or these people probably don't believe it. They're just pushing it on purpose. But this verified account, Charles M. Blow, you know, white people are not murdering black people on average. They're not killing them. If anything, white people get killed at the hands of black people and raped at the hands of black people more than the reverse. So, you know, it's just like laughable, first of all, for people to like frame it like this. Most white people are killed by white people. Most black people are killed by other black people. Most Chinese people are killed by other Chinese people. And cops and more black cops kill black people than white cops. So it's like, you know, whatever they can do to push this narrative that we're oppressed and white man is doing it. You know, these are just race hustlers. That's what they are. Bishop Talbert Swan, verified account. Don't tell us we're overreacting to Liam Neeson. Black people have lived that history. The black town of Rosewood, Florida was destroyed and residents were murdered and lynched by a white mob seeking to kill black people because a white lady lied and said a black man raped her. And, you know, something like that, yeah, did happen in history where there's like, I forget, there's some white woman or something, like she did lie, said some black dudes, and then, yeah, they like lynched and killed some black people because of that. And yeah, that's terrible. That shouldn't have happened. That was an example of something you should not do in response to that. But the black town, but it's like him saying what he said is in no way going to have another outcome like this. He said he was wrong what he did, but this just gives an opportunity for these people to restate things like this, to remind people that, oh, guess what, white people will lynch you if you do this, or they'll lie about rapes to get white men to go and burn down black homes, and this is exactly like it was in the past, and nothing has changed in history. This is why they always show black and white pictures, yeah, and the Irish have suffered a fucking shit ton. What they don't mention also is, like, we gotta have sympathy for terrorists who kill people, and for other thugs and criminals who kill people because of racist white people and white supremacy and shit all the time. But, like, the Irish were treated like shit by the English for so fucking long, and especially during that time that he lived in, the time of troubles or whatever he says. Like, that was when there was a lot of immigration from the colonies as well, right? And the Irish people were always treated like garbage, always given like the worst jobs, were given like policemen, firemen, all this stuff because they're the most dangerous, whatnot. Or that was more like in America. But in Europe, they suffered, way more fucking racism per se. They were always classified as like subhuman. A lot of fucking Irish people, like, as monkeys and shit, were like depicted as, some of them were as monkeys or whatnot. And you see a bunch of people coming from a different community that have never lived in your country to begin with, and then people are importing them in and giving them jobs and all this other crap above you, and now you're not getting any work. Yeah, there's going to be even more resentment among groups of people. Plus, there was the IRR, the Catholics and the Protestants killing each other left and right. Right, like that's the thing. The most diverse places are the most segregated. That's what, isn't that kind of funny though? Because you see, the most white places where there's a lot of white people are the most liberal they tend to be, because they're not exposed to multiculturalism. And, the places that are most very multicultural, they all segregate from each other. And they're all living in their all segregated places because they know more that, it doesn't work. AV is all right. Fine. He is all about clickbait nowadays, though. Which AV Yemeni? Fucked up. Do you watch? No, I haven't seen AV Yemeni. Close enough to smell them. Hey, in Toronto Sun newspaper, when they post on their pages all people that got murdered last year, 99% are blacks. Right. By other blacks, most likely. But I'll read more of the comments because they're pretty funny. Bishop Talbert Swan, don't tell me we're reacting. And yeah, you're definitely overreacting if you're bringing up something that happened fucking years ago and something that didn't happen when Liam Neeson brought up the fucking thing that he did. And then Dr. Deshaun Stokes, which is not a doctor. Like, I looked at his Twitter bio. He's a sociologist, author, pundit, politics and culture scholar, fighter for equality and justice. You may have caught me on TV or radio or read my work. But he's like, racism is bad. Revenge is bad. Whites often blame people of color for things they didn't do. Rape does not excuse random murder or hate crimes ever. People of color are not out to get you. You are not better than others. And nobody says rape excuses hate crimes or anything like that. Nobody's making these arguments. Whites often blame people of color for things they didn't do. No, that's actually white people that are often blamed for things that they didn't do. I'm sure you can bring up examples of, some white people lying and saying that black people robbed them or mugged them where it didn't happen. But the whole general trend that we see is white people being blamed for everything in society. I just saw Just today, just yesterday, I did a stream about it. The ice cap changes in the 1600s was blamed on white people killing all of the Aboriginals in North America. So what do you mean? Everything is blamed on white people. The climate change is blamed on white people. The death that is going on in other countries is blamed on white people because, oh, well, you know, there's all this warfare going on in this African country. Well, it's because they were colonized and blah, blah, blah. And even though they haven't been there for 40 years or something, or 50, 60 years, it's still going to be their fault. It's always going to be their fault, no matter what, because white people are bad. Yeah, no, I know whites aren't the most racist people. I don't even need to watch that because it's just like blatantly obvious. It's blatantly obvious, and the only way that you think that's not true is if you're deluded in the leftist ideology, because no other country like pretty much allows the same freedoms for every different group of people that are there than Western countries do. Most countries pick and choose between groups of people to give rights to. A lot of Arab Muslim countries, if you're not a Muslim, if you don't have all this shit, then you don't have the same privileges as a Muslim or Muslim Arab. They don't even like black Muslims, some of these Arab Muslims and stuff. So even if you're Arab and you're not black, they still won't necessarily like you and bring you into Saudi Arabia. So it's stupid. You know, it's Chinese people, same thing, right? You'll never convince a red bird or a blue bird that color doesn't matter. Right. Technically speaking, wouldn't our white skin help with climate change, reflecting sunlight away from the earth? Yeah, exactly. You know, they should be praising us. We're reflecting the sun rays away from. Hey, Gordon, what's up, buddy? But that's the thing. Yeah, nobody ever talks about that. Our white skin reflects the sun rays and prevents cooling or creates cooling. So if anything, we are good we're reducing the carbon in the air or something, or we're cooling the planet. But I'll read a few more here. Skin cancer. Oh, you're gonna get banned soon, man. You're gonna get banned. No, I'm kidding. Not yet. Not yet. John Keaton, blacks more climatized. Okay, John Bond, that guy says something logical. He just says, you know, we should forgive people. Then Emily B, wanting revenge on someone who harmed your friends or family is understandable. Wanting to beat to death a person who had nothing to do with the crime but is the same race as the perp is not. So this Emily B is just a virtue signaling cunt. And she's like, oh, everybody, I'm here and I'm not racist. I would never think this, guys. I'm not a human being. I'm an NPC like you guys. Look at me. It's like, you know, you should just fill your Twitter account with like, I am against murder. I'm against rape. I am against stealing. Stealing is bad, right? But the only time these people decide to virtue signal is when it has to do something with a white person. So then they could virtue signal and to all the other people that they're an ally and that they would never think like this. But guess what? Just because you say all this stuff and you virtue signal, do you think that they don't think you're racist still? You know that a lot of these people still think white liberals are racist, or they think you're sometimes more racist because you're condescending to them a lot of the times. And like these black groups and all this stuff, they know this and they don't like white liberals either. It's so funny because, you know, with that whole Northam guy there, that Virginia lawmaker came out with blackface and stuff. Like, see, all that does is it just, you know, like the Republicans using that to be like, oh, see, these guys are racist and this and that. All it really does is make them think like, oh, it just makes us, yeah, we already knew all you guys were racist, right? They already think all white people are racist. They just think liberals are more crafty with their racism. and less overt about it and whatnot. But their real agenda is really to ally with you and to take over your causes, right? That is a lot of the rhetoric they use. That's why they're against white feminists so much, because they're like, you just come in here and you try to take over our causes and, you know, try to make it about you, and it needs to be more about intersectionality, and, you know, and they're like, oh, this is why white feminists are against intersectionality, because if we look at the differences, then we'll see that they're actually making more than men of color and all this stuff, so they're actually privileged too, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that's what they think about white liberals. So it's like, I see when they virtue signal all this stuff, I'm like, this is so pointless. Like, you're so pointless. Yeah, I saw all these on Twitter. I saved them on a notepad that I had, though. I just kind of copy pasted them. But you can go just type in hashtag Liam Neeson and you go through the top tweets, and you'll probably find the majority of the ones that I'm reading right now, because they were some of the top ones, and they're all getting like hundreds of votes. It's the responsibility of every person who's red pill. This silent war will not end. I agree with you, Richard, that people should probably be prepping, right? And it's always good to be ready for the worst. You know, it's not, you know, if you're able to do that, do it. Hey, AJ, you're at it early tonight. Just thought I would say hi. Hey, man, how's it going, Cliff? Yeah, I'm at it doing a little bit earlier today. Just thought I'd do. I was trying to make a video earlier, and I was trying to do one about this, but then it kept getting fucked up. I did a 10-minute thing. It got screwed over. I tried again. I did another 10-some minute thing. It fucked up. I did another 20-minute thing. Somebody like called me and fucked up my flow of the video. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to do a live stream and talk about this for like, I don't know, an hour or something, and just hang out with the chat or whatever, because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to get this out if I just do it in a video. I'm just going to have to do it. I'm just going to do it live. Just do it fucking live. You know, AJ, you don't look so good. Yeah. Fuck you, BM. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. That's all you do is troll. Can't say nothing nice. 10 years trading here and buy bullets. The Warren brothers are racist for pretending to be white chicks. Yeah. The comedy movie called White Chicks. And yeah, look how they portrayed the white girls too, like all ditzy and stupid, like, oh, it's like, imagine like white people dress up as black people did the same thing. Obviously people would be losing it, but they're like, well, it's different because of the history of racism and blackface, and there isn't a history of white people being oppressed by blackface, whatever, or whiteface, that it's okay because they're white, yada, yada, yada. It's okay to generalize white people, to stereotype them, make fun of them, because power plus oppression. And I'll read more of these tweets here. I definitely understand the anger one might feel learning that a loved one was hurt. Oh yeah, like I said, but I would think that you would want that individual to pay the price, not just anyone on the same ethnicity. That's just an excuse for your racism. So another virtue signaler, another idiot, Mr. Gooner. This is pretty horrendous. If a white person commits a crime against another race of people, God forbid, should these people blame all white people? No, anyone who has thoughts like this is clearly a racist. It's appalling to read stuff like this. So I guess to these people, once a racist, always a racist. And, you know, until you start donating money to the NAACP and going on the ground, bowing, saying you're sorry and giving all your money away, they're not going to accept your apology. And then this is Heme is me. Love how the whites are sticking up for him. But if I said I wanted to kill a random white person because whites always shoot up schools and churches, y'all would lose your mind. Well, yeah. Like, people, they're so fucking stupid. And this got hundreds of likes too. And they're so dumb. They're so dumb. Yeah. It would be bad. He's acknowledging what he said was bad. If you said this today, which a lot of people do say this, You know how many people on Twitter after the Covington kids came out, how many people said they wanted to shoot up the fucking school or burn it down, and they didn't have their tweets removed? There's a lot of fucking people, man. So I don't know what these people, they live in a delusional world. All right, you're going in a timeout because you're annoying me again. I don't like seeing just BM in my chat. I'm gonna permanently ban you from my channel soon. Just a matter of time. Matter of time. What do you think about Rogan's apology? Well, I actually saw that apology just today, and I thought there were some good aspects of it. I thought that it was good. I didn't see the whole debate. Or I mean the discussion between, but clearly it sounds like, he got a lot of shit because he didn't pressure Jack Dorsey on censoring people, right? And I saw the thing. He asked them, it's like, so why did you get what's his name banned? And he's like, well, I'm not really sure, and he didn't press him on it. And it's kind of funny to see, how much he pressed what's his name, Alex Jones, how critical he is of Alex Jones, how critical he is of like Stefan Molyneux when he was on his show, trying to like, ambush them with questions and stuff. But Jack Dorsey, not so much. And I guess I could believe maybe perhaps that he wasn't just ignorant. He was just ignorant and that he just want to have a conversation and whatnot. But I don't know. And if he has another interview, hopefully he does grill him on it. But I think that he, did a good thing of addressing in his apology that there's a double standard between white people saying stuff and right-wingers saying stuff on Twitter and getting banned, and how people on the left can say practically whatever they want. Because at one point, Brian Redband brought up, oh, well, maybe these right-wingers just got banned because they said something wrong, and it's as simple as that. And he's like, no, a lot of people are getting banned for this and that, and I've seen a lot of other people not getting banned for saying some like pretty horribly racist things and whatnot. So I think that was good for him to at least point that out. And his apology was okay, I guess. Generally, I think I wrote a couple things down. He brought up the double standards of being white people not getting banned. He also brought up how Republicans can be targeted more. Joe mentioned how he didn't delete comments. He also mentioned how he didn't delete the comments, and how Red Band brought up how if you flag a comment on YouTube, YouTube will manually look at it and remove it for you. So if it doesn't get put in the junk thing, like it happens to me a lot, like a lot of your guys' comments get put in junk, especially if it has a link on it as well. So it'll be put right in the junk thing, the junk folder. Or I guess if somebody flags it, then they could remove it. Because I can believe Joe Rogan, he's not going to monitor his thing that closely, right? So like I can believe that. It can be put practically anything for Firestone. But yeah, there was that. What else did he bring up? There's a couple other things I disagreed when he brought up in his apology too. And he's saying something like, oh, most of the people that were mad were alt-righters that were mad at him. But it's kind of funny to me because the majority of people mad at him were probably people like the Sargonites, right? People that were Sargon followers. And Sargon wants his very best to not be considered a right-winger, but everybody sees you as being on the right anyways. And you may as well just drop the whole liberal fucking thing and be like, yeah, I'm on the right. Stop trying to reform the fucking left and your side or whatever, because that's not going to happen. They all see you. Joe Rogan and stuff, part of the mainstream media sees people like Sargon and all these people as the same group of people. They all see us as the alt-right. We're all the alt-right to these people. So it doesn't matter, and it's like there is definite things that people should be fighting against and arguing with each other about, between Sargon, Richard Spencer, alt-right, real alt-right people, the right, civic national, whatever. But generally, people should be kind of grouping up together and at least aligning together temporarily, because we're all considered the same. We're all considered the same people to these people. So it's stupid to kind of attack one another, to try to deplatform one another, get each other banned from social media, or get their accounts removed from YouTube or Twitter or whatnot. That was going on between Andy Worski and Sargon and the alt-right a little while ago. But, you know, they were both acting stupid. Do I have a dial in today? Sargoy of Applebee's. Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, like I said, or you're asking me about the apology, right? You have the day off from the cold. Yeah, I do. But yeah, I got the link. I'll throw in the link if you want to hop on there, Friedrich. 1 second here. Fucking. Let me go here. Copy. Close. Paste. There we go. Now you're hidden forever. You're hidden forever now, BM. You are gone. You will not be back. You are banished. You shall not pass. You shall not pass. You shall not pass. That's all I have to say to you. No passy. No passy. Day off the roof. Let Friedrich call. Don't tell me what to do. Anus? Yeah, no, I did. I put the hangout in there. AJ is pulling a Jack Dorsey. He's limiting someone's free speech. I am limiting his free speech. I admit it. I fucking admit it. I took his free speech away. Now he has to watch me in anger, and he's not able to type and say stupid fucking shit anymore. And that's what really enrages trolls. You got to admit, like, you know, if you're just a troll like that and then you ban them, then, you know, they're probably just going to leave your channel at this point, or he'll probably just, do I have a dislike? Yeah, I do have a dislike, because that fucking asshole comes on here and dislikes my shit.
I'll give you an up. There you go. A 14.
Yeah, hit the upvote, guys. Come on. How's it going, man? What's up?
Not too bad. Just working and talking to you.
Oh yeah, you're at work.
Slaving away, you know. Gotta support these, you know, Indians and Chinese and Hindis and everyone else except for the white people.
So, did you see that? Did you see the whole interview with Sargon and Jack Dorsey, or did you just see the apology?
No, you mean the discussion with Joe Rogan and Jack Dorsey, or the I watched a little bit of I couldn't stand him. I just wanted to rip that nose ring out of his nose, and then, you know, pull him by that stupid beard and throw him around. But I paid more close attention to the Joe Rogan apology.
Right,
that was pathetic. That was pathetic. The guy, you could tell by the gestures and his eye movements, the guy was full of shit. Like, he didn't know what happened to what's his name, Alex Jones. I didn't know what he was gonna. You knew. The guy's like, watches Twitter. He watches the social events. What's going on? Like, so there's two things, right? He's either incredibly stupid, or he's incredibly disingenuous.
Yeah.
Either or.
Right. Well, you know, I think he's definitely aware of, you know, of the fact that you don't want to come out and pretend or make it seem like you're on Alex Jones's side or something like that, right? And he doesn't even want the flack from people, so he just probably knows, oh, I'm not gonna, you know, touch on that. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you know, we should care less about whose side we are on. Like if I had a very interesting conversation with my boss today when we were having a cigarette together, and she's like, you know, I have a friend and she's now becoming a professor in Oregon. I'm like, oh, lefty country. She's like, no, you have to understand. You have to take both sides. I said, there's no both sides. Even in the Bible, it says, don't sit on the fence. Choose right or wrong. And you should know which one is better. And if you choose wrong, you'll get wiser to it a lot quicker than if you choose right. The problem is that too many people are afraid to say, I don't support this. I don't like this. The kind of flack I get for just telling people at work I'm a Trumper, and not necessarily that I'm a Trumper. It's just I support the wall. I support, limiting immigration. I don't necessarily support the man. I support what he's supposed to represent.
Right.
But
like if you don't have fuck you money, like he does have lots of fuck you money, right? And you're not willing to put people like on the grill and shit, people that are powerful, that have a lot of influence, etc. Like Joe Rogan has a lot of money, is what I'm saying. That he's in a better position than you and your work to bring up Trump or anything like, these types of subjects, because you would suffer more from it because, you make a lot less money than him, I'm assuming. And, that would affect you. But people like that, it's even more like bullshit, because you had a chance to like grill him on this. And as you saw the reaction from his audience, that's why he's making the apology video, because he probably saw like 75-80% of his audience is like, what the fuck? Like, what? So he's like, he has
he's in panic mode right now, because a lot of this kind of bullshit internet kind of what's that Italian's name? I don't like watching him. The who's talking about e-health or something like that. Got Boogie involved. What's that Italian guy's name? He's very popular. You remember?
Italian? Mark Dice. I don't know.
Oh, Mark Dice is cool. He got in trouble just not too long ago about calling out the Covington kids, and then he had to retract, and he made an apology. Anyone in the chat remember? I don't really pay attention to him.
Sorry, I was just checking the chat, but so can you repeat that one more time?
It's the guy. He's got about like 13 mil subs. He's a talk show host. He talks about current events. He the guy who starts his openings with, "Hey, what's up, beautiful bastards?"
Oh, Philip DeFranco?
That guy, yeah.
Hate that piece of shit.
He is such a centrist, and I've called him out so early on, and he's garbage. He's a big fucking liar, shilling, asking people, and I couldn't believe it. People are giving him money to start up a studio when the guy's already a millionaire. That's what Rogan is. He's the same shit. Sits on the middle of the fence, and I keep calling it out. And people now they're starting to actually kind of, okay, now I get who this person is. He's a fucking MMA commentator. I don't expect this guy to have a lot of brains to be discussing the really huge amount of variables and social issues that are very complicated, and you have to unwind them. Jeez.
Right. But like the thing is with Joe Rogan and stuff, and I was thinking about this the other day, and it's true that they are kind of like, I guess people are saying they're not a gateway, but like a gatekeepers, right? But with my experience and with a lot of other experiences, that may be true that they counter signal certain things, right? But whether that is true or not, the result is that they are gateways to certain ways of thinking. Because my own personal story was watching some YouTubers and shit on YouTube and stuff, watching the Joe Rogan podcast, right? And being exposed to, I don't know, Stefan Molyneux or some other people on his podcast, right? Yeah. And then through that, I found all these other people. So even when they do this counter signaling and stuff like that, and people are like, oh, they're gatekeepers and stuff, even if that's what they're trying to do, it's not working, right? it's not really working. And if anything, it is leading, like just like me and a lot of other people have the exact same experiences as me, where they went to watching Joe Rogan, then watching this, and watching this, and that, slowly changing their opinions. It's like, you know, that there's still something about that, because even though he's not making, like, he fucked up with Alex Jones, and not fucked up, but, you know, deliberately did that, you know, a bunch of other things that he's come out and said and stuff recently. But compared to the rest of the fucking media and people that do interviews and stuff like that, that have a massive audience, which nobody really has an audience the size that he does, right? And a lot of people, like, what, Kanye West is going to go on there and have an interview for like 2-3 hours, apparently, right? He would never do that with anybody else, right? And he does have a way to open up, to get some people to open up about some of their things and talk about stuff. Sometimes, like, I didn't see that one interview or whatnot. I haven't watched him in a long time, honestly. That's like when I used to watch him, right? I haven't watched an actual episode of his in probably a couple years or something. But, you know, when I've seen clips here and there throughout the years, and he does inject some logic in the discussion when 95% of the media is saying one thing, and he comes in and be like, well, okay, this is kind of bullshit. Like, even in his discussion or his apology, like I said, he brought up how you know, there is on Twitter, you know, white people and conservatives are being like banned and stuff way more than people on the left, who are saying just as racist or more racist things. Like, he brought that up, and then what's his name, Brian Redband, said, oh, well, maybe they're just being banned because they did something wrong, and it's as simple as that. And he's like, no, I don't think so. You know, it seems to me like these people are being like targeted or whatever. So, you know, I give him credit for at least doing stuff like that. And, like, you know
what, who did a really good breakdown of that apology was Vincent from Red Elephants. He did a breakdown of it today. For those in the chat, go and watch it. It's really, really well done. And he provided the list of all of these people who have been taken off of YouTube. And then, like, and you were talking earlier as I was driving home about people who are not taken off of Twitter, like that Sheeny girl, you know, the one blind me with dental floss chick that's writing for the Wall Street Journal or whatever she's writing for. And she's writing all that garbage. Yeah.
She still has a job, this shit.
If I said any of this shit, I would be instantly walked out. And I could tell you from experience, I was walked out because I'm in IT, and I work in, you know, different contracts and stuff. And there was an Indian sitting next to me, and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, and he's like, oh, no, he's trying to hide stuff. I'm like, are you working on things to bring in more Indians in here? And I mean, literally I was the fourth white guy in that whole place. It was all Indian, and he was working on trying to bring in people of my position from India, from Tata Consulting Services, all of these different consulting services that are based in India, but now are like literally bringing people in, and they're trying to have now outsourcing companies here and everything else like that. And you know, I can't speak against it. So I said, you know, I don't think that's right and stuff. And right away I was walked out the door. So even if you object nicely, it doesn't matter. So why bother objecting nicely? Just put it out there. I told the MP that came here last time in our riding, she came to my door, you know, with these, she was Chinese working for the Liberal Party, and she's bringing all the Chinese kids behind her. I'm like, yeah, what do you want? She says, oh, I'm working for the Liberal. No, thank you. I said, I don't want to, you know, why don't you pander to the Greeks, not in your own community, and I'll listen to what you have to say. And she walked off, and it's like, yeah, what a racist. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's like, fuck off, you know, at this point. You know, you just gotta, no apology, no nothing. You just gotta be firm. Just say what you believe at the end of the day. And like, they're saying that Liam Neeson thing, right? Like,
I don't know what happened with that. So, oh yeah, he was saying that he wanted to go and beat up a black guy.
Yeah, well, he recounted a story of when, like, a reporter asked them, like, how do you get in a frame of mind to do your roles or the upcoming role that you're going to be in? And he told a story about how when like 40 years ago in Northern Ireland, when there's a bunch of shit going on, all that stuff, his girl, his friend told him that she was raped, and he asked like who did it. She didn't know, and he's like, what race? And she's like, it was a black guy. And she told other details about him. So then he went around the streets for like a week, looking to get. He was like, I was hoping some guy would fight me, a black guy would fight me, so then I could fight him back and like beat the shit out of him, right? And the whole point of the story was like, then he's like, after a few days, I realized that it was like fucked up what I was doing, and that he was trying to say this exists in all of us type stuff, that potential to think like that and to
sure it does
react, and to be kind of tribalistic to some extent, like I'm going to go and blame the whole group of people for one person's actions, right? There's a whole point of the story and how it was wrong to do that. And he shouldn't have brought that up, because obviously leftists are going to twist what he said and to make him look like a racist, so they could put clickbaity articles titled Liam Neeson wants to kill black people or something, like whatever, like after accusation of rape from his friend, which a lot of the headlines are right now. It's like so clickbaity, right? That's one of the reasons they're also pushing it.
What is the progenesis for all of this ridiculous social behavior, from feminists ruining comics, movies, literature, politics? Like I used to have a little blog called Blame Matt Galloway. I don't know if people in the chat know Matt Galloway. He used to run something on CBC.
Yeah, I remember.
In the morning show, right? So he was, I forgot when the old guy left, there was like CBC Morning, and they would have this, or it was in the afternoon, they would have this little chat. It was kind of nice. It was all Canadian oriented and local news sometimes. And in the minute he left, and he brought this Matt Galloway, this half black guy, half white guy, it just started going south from there. It was like all social issues and bullshit news. And that was 7 years ago, right? So I had something called Blame It on Matt Galloway.
Right.
And I actually, and I have arguments with friends, and I know my friend, he's like, he calls me, Peter, you're a homosexual, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, John, you're not a homosexual. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys. If you're going to call me a if you're going to call me a homophobe, right? I don't care. I don't fear them. I dislike them. And when people were ramming against, what's his name, Ford, right? He didn't want to go to the gay parade. Now watch the silliness in this, and like the rules in opposition. So hey, we want you to respect us, and if you don't like us, you don't have to like us. We're all open-minded. He says, no, I don't want to go. I don't agree with it. He didn't say anything derogatory. He just says, I don't want to go. I don't want to attend. Right. All of the gays, I'm allowed to say that on. I don't want to get your YouTube channel struck, so I'll call them fudgebackers, twinkle toes, or light in the loafers. I don't know. So all of these people rallied against this man, and it's like, wait a sec. If you disrespect the fact that he doesn't want to come to your kind of, I wouldn't even call it a pride parade. I'd call it like debauchery, right? Because that's all they do there. And why do you want him there? Why do you want him there? So I look at it like this. Back in the 80s, they were like, a lot of them were coming out of the closet. Hey, and everybody's like, okay. And this is where the slippery slope starts to begin, right? This is the protogenesis of all of this social garbage. And they start coming to the closet. Okay, fine, all right. Like if you want to look at another man's hairy ass and say, yeah, I want to make that mine, no problem, fine, whatever. Then the next thing is, we want to be able to get married in the church, and why can't we do this? Yet, why are you infringing on another group that predominantly preaches against you. Why are you pushing these people? You're harassing them. So it wasn't about being open and free. It was about attacking someone else to force you to like them, right? The next thing was, okay, fine, you can marry in the church. All right, do whatever you want. The next thing was, now we want to have children. Well, can you have children? I think with lesbians and gay people, I think the fact that you're either or, you've given up the right to have children, don't you think? You know what I mean? It's
right.
There's a utility to the functionality of genitals, right? And it's okay if you're like that. So a lot of the time, I've had these arguments with my friends, and one of them is he has some gay friends, and he's not like, he has a wife and stuff, but he's like, Peter, you gotta think like this, you gotta think like that. Then he tells me, Frederick, you gotta think like this. And me and my other friend are just going, we're scratching our heads. Why do we have to think like that? Are we not allowed to think otherwise? Why do I have to align my thoughts with yours? And I always said to him, do I have a right to be crazy?
Right. Yeah. Do you have a right to be wrong?
Do I have the right to be nuts? Do I have a right to be straight? Do I have a right to be crazy? So they don't leave you alone. And it's always one evolutionary step to the next, right? So now they're able to have children. Now, hey, the next step is that transitioning, the transition between the two things. And this is where all these social issues comes from, because who supports these things?
It's all about taking away like just rights for people in general, though. That's all it ever leads to, because the idea that you have a positive right, like having somebody build a home for you or provide you healthcare or call you a certain word or not offend you or whatnot, all of these things require a government. So it essentially legitimizes the state by creating these fake rights that you need to force other people to give people to have these rights. That's all the real basis of this shit is. All Marxist, leftist shit that just gets the idea in their mind that they need the government, because who is going to give you these rights, right? The government is what grants us our rights, right? There's what gives us free healthcare, our right to free healthcare. There's what gives us our right of welfare and our right of whatever the fuck else that isn't actually a right. That's why, rights were so simple back then. Or like, there's a few natural laws, natural rights, like to defend yourself, which is pretty blatantly obvious. You don't need somebody else to defend you.
Our rights were based on the Code of Hammurabi, and further broken down based on biblical 10 commandments, and which makes sense.
Like those rights, those are different rights as well. But I'm saying like the actual basic natural rights, like you could say, the rights of the Bible or whatever they say in there, but I just mean like there's very few natural rights, like defending yourself. That's pretty much it. And then like, I guess you could say like, what do they add and stuff, like the pursuit of happiness. So that essentially just means going about living your life, building businesses without people, like without being impeded upon. So, that's should be a right, but obviously we don't live in that world. There's always people that are trying
a right to free association.
Freely associate, that should be a right. We don't need anybody else to give you that right. You can just walk away. There's no need of a government for the freedom of speech. There's no need of a government for the freedom to defend yourself or the freedom to associate. But all these other fake rights, like I say, need the government. So that's why you can never admit to these people that this is a right and this is a right, and because you'll always fall into that trap of their argument and be like, well, okay, so you agree we need to have this, we need these oppressive systems of government to control people, to administer these different rights to people, to equalize everything between the groups of people, right? So it's all fucking just propaganda, like for more government, in my opinion. Maybe
I don't
I'm
know. Every
wrong.
time I hear rights, I think coercion and
Right.
enslavement, right? Because you've been given a right, as if I never had it. So you're actually taking. You
Right.
have to think backwards. Oh, now you have a right to do this. So you're saying I didn't have a right before, but now you're all of a sudden saying that you actually you control that right of whatever I had, and now you're gifting it to me.
Yeah. And once you ask them, where do you think rights come from? And they'll tell you, they'll be like, well, it's the government. The government gives me rights and all that stuff. So, they're that's why the system, and people always like are mad about how the system works, and they're all like, oh, why does this work this way? And blah, 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 blah. But it's like, you're consenting to it all the time and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And people are always furthering it. And it's like, hey, if you want to fix it, just get rid of it. But it's like, they always want to try to like reform it or change it. It's like that's never going to work. It's just need to pretty much remove it.
That's why now you have, like, it's incredible. And I'm still working on that video because there's a lot of research that on the number of pedophiles in aid organizations like the Red Cross and others. I mean, there's a Toronto Star article going back to 1984 of child molestation cases and financial fraud, and with UNICEF. And it's amazing how much of these people are in positions of power. It's amazing how many of these so-called trannies and really gay people in positions of power. Now, I wouldn't give a shit if, like I said, you want to look at another guy and say, come over to my house tonight and we'll, whatever they do. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Fuck a goat. Don't push this shit on me. And that's what they've been doing. They've been slowly pushing that slow tread. There's these lesbians or females that would never, ever, ever, ever get laid, right? Because you know about sexual market value. And I don't know if you know that concept. Are you familiar with it?
The sexual market value?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a pool of resources, both male and females, fighting for one's attention. And there's fitness, there's intelligence, there's the ability for self-assistance and whatnot, and that kind of all equates into the sexual market value, where a lot of these women would never ever stand a chance. If they were playing music.
You go ahead. Sorry.
If they were playing musical chairs, their fat asses would never ever get on one because they'd be too fucking slow to get into one. So what if they?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So
sorry.
They form this group, right? And they feel comfortable. Their insecurities are gone. Well, I'm just like this other girl, and I feel great. And then they're gay, and let's all get together. And they bandy together, and they grow like osmosis. It's like an amoeba that just consumes everything around it.
Well, and it's natural. Almost a natural reaction from women, not all women, but in the free market, there's no chance for them to be able to compete with men on even terms. So that's why they need to vote for a government and a bigger government to equalize things, because otherwise they would have no chance, right? And that's why you see a lot of women who are married tend to vote for the right, because they don't want that redistribution of wealth happening, because their husbands are the one bringing home the bacon. And if that huge thing happens, then their husbands are going to have less money. Their family's going to have less money. But women, single women stuff, like they want
women, right? Women admire strength of spirit. They don't want look. I don't nothing.
Security. They want security. Right. That's the main thing. Right?
I don't.
That's good.
I don't want to talk poorly about women, right? But it's natural. If you give a hand to a woman, she'll take an arm if you don't resist, right? And that's like I've competed in ballroom dancing, and the thing is, the man leads, even though the woman has the hardest step, because the man has the fewest steps, but he also has to lead with, and there has to be tension from the woman and the man, where the woman has the hardest step because she leads with backwards on her heel rather than with her toe. So
Right.
in those instances, but the man can always gear, like, you know, for example, if she missteps, you can pull her with the strength and tension, and because you know where she needs to go, because she's going backwards, she can't see, right? The same thing. Women want that strength. They want to, and there's nothing wrong in cases, because women are very good at certain things that men aren't, and men are very good at certain things that women aren't. Women can
yin and yang.
I have gotten out of a car, and I like, there's been a conflict, and I was like, I'm gonna break this guy's first. That's it. And you know, my wife will grab me, says, "Hey, calm down. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. What for?" And then you're gonna go to get the police involved and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. And that's that common sense. Whereas we're always ready to fight or flight, right? And women are always willing to negotiate. So it's a kind of give and take, the yin and yang. The thing is, with women that don't respect guys, they are lost. They are truly lost. They end up with lots of cats. I know a few of them. I know one in particular who's 55. She's been, you know, swinging around with all these guys, and they've been just using her for, you know, hey, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And she's all depressed. She's always, you know, she had her little doggy, and she anthropomorphized the dog as if it was a human being. And I was like, it's still a dog. It's a dog. Yeah, it's friendly. It can bark and shit like this. Who cares? It's a dog. That's all it is. It's not a. You're not going to get that attention. And I've seen articles in HuffPost where they talk about the woman. Oh, you know, I love my dog. It's just like a man. I don't need a man. Really? Like that YouTube girl from 3 years ago. She was kicked off of YouTube. She was talking about how to have sex with animals or her dog. Hey, I just sit there, spread my legs, and let the dog do its business and stuff like that. It's like, what? This is how crazy. So you give an inch to a woman, she'll take a mile, and when she takes a mile, she loses her mind. So the stability of the guy has to be there as much as the girl too, because girls provide us also some tension. Because if without a woman there, we would go wild as well.
Right, you know, and with the advent of the welfare state and all this stuff, it just made it even worse. And like, because now women can make terrible decisions, and they'll be taken care of by the government, so they can go and sleep with whatever guy they want, etc. Do stupid shit, and it's going to be totally fine. And like, you know, it's just going to further itself too, because now all these people, they're going to have kids out of wedlock, and all their kids are going to want a larger government as well and stuff. And it's like, it's almost like never going to end with these fucking people. But like I said, like, women, they do value like security over, you know, mostly anything else. And that's not a bad thing. Like you say, it's a yin and yang, and women have good qualities, men have good qualities, and valuing security. Why do they do that? Because they want to secure as many resources for typically their children, right? It comes down to the kids a lot of the times. And, you know, the government plays on that natural instinct. And without the government around, it would force people to actually value each other's strengths and weaknesses and combine them together. And then there would be unity between men and women again. But right now, because of feminism and all this other stuff, and it all has the goal of growing the state. That's all it really has. Because, you know, I sound, you know, I keep saying that, growing the side of the government, but it's like, that's what it is. Because what is the government? What is it really? What is it? It is just a small group of people that have power and control over vast amounts of wealth and resources, right? Pretty much. That's essentially what it is. So when I say growing the size of the government, I just literally mean growing the power base of these people and their ability to have control over vast swaths of human beings, right? People, libertarianism or whatever. It's like, okay, you want a big government that can do whatever the fuck they want to you at any fucking time? Go to South Africa and build some fucking shit. See how
long. The thing is, people are really foolish today. Like, you want to, it's like I said earlier, I liked your last video, by the way. It was very, very good. Good call.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
But it's a lot. It's pretty simple to make changes for the better, and you don't have to do fuck all. First of all, is stop buying junk. We don't need junk. And I'm the one to talk because I have a huge collection of Gundams and shit like that. But if I just if I stopped, like we would have an easier life. Our houses would be fairly empty. In Europe, they usually are more emptier than North American homes. We tend to stuff all kinds of garbage into it. And we'll be a lot more mobile. I remember when I was moving, I was all verklempt and just like, because there was just so much shit to move. And I was like, what the fuck? I need to get rid of this. I got to purge.
Yeah, we're too materialistic.
Right. And you can't take it with you when we die anyway. So,
Yeah, all you can take is your experiences and the people that you leave behind, right?
Right.
That's what
so
really
how do you
matters.
starve a government? Now, here's the other lie they've taught everybody in school. Companies make jobs. Bullshit. It's people make companies. Because if you had no one to sell to, you wouldn't have a company. If you didn't have people to make your shit, you wouldn't have a company. But somehow we've perverted the system, like in economics. If you really study pure macroeconomics, you would know that the lines of the lines of I'm running a blank right now. Come on, help me out, AJ.
What were you saying? Go back.
So I was talking about economics and
macroeconomics.
Right, and the lines of that intersect for availability of resources, and availability of jobs. So I guess it's come on, Chad, help me out. I'm running a.
What was your initial premise that
it's wrong?
Say that governments make jobs, or what was your?
No, my initial premise is that the governments don't make jobs.
Right, I agree.
Well, they do actually. They do create jobs.
Well, they can, but go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, they create jobs like the Indian Affairs Department. That's a bullshit job. They just exist for primarily existing.
Well, that's not a job. That's more like just a succubus onto the system, because government jobs produce no value typically, right? There's no value being produced through most government jobs and stuff. And it's like, they could we could build a bridge and the government could give these people jobs, but like, why do we need the bridge? Why is the bridge being built? I mean, maybe there's some economic reason, like in the city or something, but what was I thinking? I'm losing my train of thought too. I had something in my head.
Supply and demand. There we go.
Supply and demand. Yeah, right.
Jeez. So the lines that intersect with supply and demand are actually backwards. But when the economist was putting it together, he said, so they just kind of flew with it. And they're like, okay, so remember that those lines that intersect are actually the opposite. But we'll just keep it for the lines between supply and demand as is. So you always have to think the opposite way. So what I'm saying is that people would go around and companies would always flex their importance in terms of, hey guys, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have jobs. Bullshit. If it wasn't for people buying stuff, so that's what creates. Like if I come in and say I need something, someone will find a way to make what I need.
Exactly. And it's like, that's the thing, that company who's like praising themselves of being so good. It's like, no, if you didn't build it, somebody else would have just built it for them and undercut you and made all the fucking money. So, and it's the customers. That's another thing socialists don't get. It's not necessarily the boss who pays the worker. It's the customer, because it's what the customer is willing to pay or what on the market that is going to usually judge how much workers get paid, right? Like, you buy a McDonald's, it's cheap as fucking shit. That's why their workers oftentimes don't get paid that much money. There's also a lot of workers and all this other shit. Plus there's welfare that from the government that also subsidizes their pay.
Everything's subsidized. Like the milk industry subsidized. They create vats and vats of milk, and then they force it down with, eat yogurt, eat cheese, eat this, eat that. Well, how much fucking calcium can you consume? You can get it out of broccoli.
Yeah, what creates businesses, though, is people and freedom. People and freedom. That's it. If you have freedom and people, businesses and smart people, obviously.
But today we don't have. We have stupid people and we have we have a huge group of really dumb fucking people, and if you follow the Pareto principle, it aligns perfectly.
It does.
80% of the world's public are retards. 20% or 20% of those are intelligent, and if you break it down even further, it just goes on and on and on until you get the very elite who are very intelligent. Who am I to shit on Bill Gates, or the guy that runs, what was his name that died, that ran Apple?
Steve
not
Jobs.
Tim Cook, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, like, he wasn't anything special. He knew how to market. He knew how to wire people. The thing is, he didn't tell anyone to go. It's marketing. It's all about marketing. Hey, I think you should buy this. Nobody ever thinks every fucking car out there, and it's really easy to do that to the Chinese, because I noticed they'll dump a car just to look, cool. Like, I got the newest model of BMW. It's got all these fucking buttons. I could do a button instead of do a stick shift. Oh yeah. So what happens if you spill some coffee? Is that going to fuck up the motherboard inside, and you're not going to be able to shift the car? Like,
right.
And they're all for the push button gadget. Dude, it's great. Who cares? Because the thing is, you have to ask, why is the car that you bought last year the same company telling you the car you bought last year is shit?
Right.
Because back in the 80s and even earlier, people had cars for 20 years.
Well, yeah, that's why iPhone, a lot of their sales have been going down this year too, because people aren't buying into the whole get a new phone every single year. People are holding on to their phones for multiple years instead of upgrading it every single year to a new iPhone 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, this screen is half an inch bigger and the camera is just a tiny bit better. You're like, people, if you still buy onto that, you're just a fool.
Well, these are marginal upgrades,
you're
right?
A sucker.
Right. These are marginal upgrades. So if you look at...
That's why businesses like this love welfare, because you know who buys the majority of this garbage? It's not like, wealthy people who know how to spend their money correctly and save their money. It's a lot of poor people and minority people that go and buy a lot of this shit. So
because they never earned it.
Payments,
they never earned it. They don't respect the dollar. They don't sweat and blood that went into like working a day's wage to buy something like that.
So why do you think Nike and stuff panders to black people and stuff like that? It's because these are the people, if you look at consumerism and how much like black Americans spend way more money on movies, TVs, cars, clothes, shoes than like any other group by far. So it's obviously very incentive monetary based,
Yeah, but it's also herd mentality. For example, in China, I don't know if you know this, Nokia, which was popular 30 years ago, their testing bed was in China. The Chinese would always continually buy new cell phones, right? But in Japan right now, they're still using flip phones. They can't get the people to switch to smartphones. They still like using the 3-letter button tap for all of the texting that they do. Now, in China, they have a very herd mentality. And like, for example, like if you notice, like a lot of Chinese that would come into the area, one will open up a noodle store. A couple of months later, another one will open up a noodle store. They kind of follow the herd. That's why we have this huge immigration from places like India and China. First of all, it's a huge market. Their middle class outnumber the entire population of Canada. So of course, the politicians who are puppets of the corporate elite want these people here, because I can't afford it. I don't have 3 or 4 houses and drive a Lambo and they smash it up like it's nothing. But that's who it's geared to, and because they have a herd mentality. A lot of the North Americans have lost that herd mentality. Their herd mentality has switched to social issues, not working and purchasing. So there's a bit of another dynamic that's happening.
Right, because even like, you look at like people like Hispanic community in America, like, why don't they pander to us and all that stuff? Because you all watch Telemundo and you all spend within your own community. And that's what they kind of do, right? They only spend on Mexican shops and Mexican places. Yeah. They only give their money to Mexicans. And then they send $30 billion in remittance to Mexico.
Same with the Filipinos here.
You see, there's no white people even like that's the thing. They're like, oh, well, you're only focusing on the Mexican illegals and stuff, not the visa people. But there's no white people sending money back to England. There's no white people sending money back to Canada because there's poor people in Canada who need the fucking remittance, right?
Right.
But when you have these Mexicans coming in sending $30 billion outside of the economy as well, that's even fucking worse, you know. But to all these people, it's all the same, or they're just too stupid to see the difference.
Of course. Like we were, how many, I think there was an article even by the CBC that was talking about how much money from these TFWs, which are usually Filipinos, was flowing out of the country and into the Philippines. That's a lot of money, man. It was like millions worth.
Oh, it's insane. Like just the money that's being funneled out of our countries by other people. And you know, what do we expect though? It's like anybody with a little bit of common sense could have told you that this is going to happen, and that people still have allegiance to their old country and their families that still live there. Of course they will. Of course they do. Like if I came from India, my family was all poor, and I had the opportunity to come to America and make a bunch of money, of course I'm going to send some of it back. Wouldn't you? You know, wouldn't you? Yeah, I probably would. I admit that. I probably would, because I'm not going to assume people are going to come in to America and be like, I'm going to only put all of my resources back in here because now I'm American, all that stuff. I think maybe some people have that mentality when they come, and depending on where you come from. But that's another good reason why we shouldn't bring people in from third world countries that are really poor and shit, because then they're going to be sending all the money they make back to their countries. And that may sound harsh, but maybe it's better for those smart people to stay in their own countries, make their countries great, instead of bringing all their smart people into North America for us to utilize them and use the smart people or get money out of them in tax dollars and whatever, right? So it's like,
I can't believe that so many Canadians are just sitting idly by and not voicing out. There's a lot like YouTubers like yourself, myself. There's quite a few also, Julia Mora and others as well. Right? I've been watching the old man guy, kind of interesting.
Old white guy.
Old white guy. Yeah, he's interesting. But there should be a lot more. Like I'm going to be doing a video series just for people on the chat and you too. On just going through the comments on CBC, because every time they come out with these fluffy bullshit news stories where, like, for example, the latest one was Trudeau was giving money to help oust Maduro from Venezuela. Like, who gives a fuck? And then you just read the comments. It's hilarious. It's just so much angst against Trudeau giving away people's money. I'm just going to go and read through this because I don't think anyone focuses it, because I used to comment a lot on CBC. And what did they do? They outsourced the comment section to a Saudi Arabian firm that would moderate your comments. And anytime you would speak against anything that was left, they would like either delete it or they would kind of revision it.
Yeah.
Or they would hide it. And then, you know, now they used to be able to log into their website. Now you log in through Facebook because that's the way they want to track you, right? Because of course Facebook's going to give them their user. Or who's this user? We want to know who this user is, right?
That's what they do now.
That's what they do now.
You go on Reddit, same things. Just you can't even comment on our Canada, anything like that. Just moderately, just a moderate comment, you'll get removed immediately. It's ridiculous.
Right. So I think just, you know, getting the feel, people are pissed off, like really pissed off. And it's just, it's hard to see because I know there's a difference between Canadians, because you go to America, they don't care about like life too much. They'll fucking beat the shit out of you on the street. Here we're a little bit more reserved, maybe because we'll get tasered to death. Because if there's a fist fight and the cop just says, whatever, I'm going to taser these two guys, then shoot you for good measure, then taser you again, because we got cops who are too afraid to get into a conflict with a kid on the bus with his pants around his ankles that you could just literally push over, and, you know, holding a little tiny knife, screaming and yelling, you could just kick him in the head. But they had to shoot him 15 times and then taser him while he's dead.
Right.
This is hilarious to me in any respect. But anyway, I'm getting off on a different tangent. But the thing is, people are being taken advantage massively First, socially, what you can't say and how you have to feel, and then raiding your wallet.
Yeah.
And they're getting you everywhere. They're getting you through the taxes, where they, you know, every time you go to buy a new car, freight tax. Okay, well, how much freight is it? Oh, that's $2,000. Really? So you're telling me it costs $2,000 for the car to be brought from the U.S. on the truck? Well, not exactly. Then this tax, that tax, this tax, this tax. You know, like, fuck off.
It's we're just being like squeezed out of every single ounce of money that we can be squeezed out of. Like, that's why I think the carbon tax really is, because the Paris Climate Agreement, because if you look, the what the UN recommends is something like a $5,000 carbon tax on every ton, right? And we're doing what, $50, $20, $30, which is so far away that it's negligible. So it's just an excuse. They make the number so fucking high so then they could just keep incrementally raising it until people get fed up and get pissed off, like what they're doing. Like,
dude, you cannot fly over China without hacking your brains out. I was in Guangzhou. I'm entering the city. I open the door and like I close the door. I'm like gasping for air. We haven't even entered the city. And, you know, when I was coming back home, we were left off from the jet, and I got out and I was smelling those jet fumes. I was like, fresh air.
Right.
And that is because there are parts in the city, like the way China is made is like certain towns, and it's really more like gigantic cities, but towns, they call it. Each town has what they make, right? And the centerpiece is like light bulbs or furniture, because they make foam primarily. They're so polluted that you can't breathe there in the mid-afternoon. You're like, your esophagus is screaming to just get out of your body. And,
right.
and so we're not making shit anymore. What are we fucking making? We're not, you know, we've sold ballet to Brazil. Right. We sold our mining company to a Brazilian company. You know,
that's insane.
So what are we doing? We're not doing anything. We're just chopping wood and sending it to the Chinese. So why are we forced to pay for anything? Why aren't they going after China? Why aren't they going after India?
Right. Well, that's the thing. You know, we're just off-sourcing all of our shit to them, and out of sight, out of mind. We're not polluting here, so blah, blah, blah. We're going to put all these restrictive policies and taxes on you, but then we're going to, with the Paris Climate Agreement, like, funnel all this money into third world countries, into these countries to help them develop plans to greenize or get green technology or something like that. And you're like, no, just a big transfer of wealth, and it's not up to us to make sure that they're clean. If we want to have a cleaner environment, then start producing stuff in Canada. Stop buying subsidized products from China. You know, like it's not like we're buying. It's not real competition. Like, the products that the Chinese people are making compared to the products that Canadians are making without subsidization of the government and all this shit, it's hard to compete against that. You know, if the Chinese government is subsidizing the fuck out of certain industries, of course they're going to take control of that industry over time, because our international companies, corporations going to buy from Canadians because it's right? No, these people are globalists. They don't care about Canada and Canadians. They're going to get the cheapest price that they could possibly get. And through these trade deals and all this other shit, you know, we allow them to do this. We allow them to, lower their prices or subsidize their markets while we're still trading with them. So it's crazy. If we just stop trading with these people, then the pollution would go down there as well, because they would have no incentive to keep operating the way that they do. And it's like, this is not good for the Chinese people either. All those people are going to be dead of fucking cancer and diseases, breathing in all those toxic fumes and shit constantly. And people I love these people on the right sometimes like to point to me like, well, China takes care of their people or whatever. And you're like, no, they don't. They don't give a fuck about their people, man. Those are just numbers to them that are like, oh, okay, money. It's just groups of people that they can exploit. That's what they see their own people as, in my opinion, right? But who knows?
Well, you know, you're right about the subsidization of China. We've subsidized their growth fully for like first they have a huge group of working class that they pay absolute shit. Like, I mean, you have to really go there to see things have improved greatly
But
over
like
many years.
but you look at the tariffs and stuff, for example, like they have high tariffs on a lot of their vehicles or our vehicles entering into their countries, but then we have zero tariffs of their
But
vehicles.
whose fault is that? I
Well,
don't
that's
blame them
the
for that.
government. No, I don't blame Chinese people for that.
They do what's in their best interest. We're the idiots allowing it.
Of course, but what I'm saying is that that's bullshit, and it's obviously the government. It's not the Chinese people. Is our stupid government for selling us out to the Chinese people. I'm not trying to say Chinese people are bad or anything like that. Like I just said, the majority of them are being probably polluted and killed slowly in their own cities by the rampant amount of pollution that they are pumping out.
Sell oxygen bags and shit.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like they don't actually care about their people, like some people say they do. But
so
at the
watch
same
how
time,
stupid we are. Okay.
Well,
so
yeah. We're very stupid, or we're not. We're not actually stupid. I think that a lot of people are just ignorant, apathetic, especially with politics, which I guess can make you stupid because you should.
Well, you know, no, you should be cynical. I'm very cynical about stuff, and which is really just a definition of this of being a disappointed optimist. But if people were just stop lining up for fucking iPhones and hold on to it, my wife's had her iPhone for like almost 6-7 years, and she's still kind of like not charging. She's still, whatever. I'll hold on to it. Like I just, and myself, I buy. You know, you can get a very good cell phone at the medium range that does everything that a tier 1 or premium phone does for like $300-400. You buy it outright. Canadians keep buying phones on plans, which they don't realize it's like a lease. If you over a period of time, you pay way more for the phone because you're paying it through the increased leasing fees through the plan. Just buy it outright. Save yourself some money, right? Companies don't like that because, you know, and I mean, $1,000 cell phone. Are you kidding me? Versus $1,000 computer. A computer I could use for many different things and work with it. A cell phone is okay. It's a utility, but it's more bullshit. People are doing, you know, what's that called? You know, doing the selfies and shit like that. And
cell phones, I think, are good because you got to think about
their utility.
Back in the day, well, a lot of things are utilities, right? But like it's a communication tool, sure, but I think smartphones are good to have, mainly for the fact that now people have little cameras in their phones, and that's good and bad, right? Sometimes things get taken out of context, but being able to hold some people accountable is actually a good thing. Like there's so many things that people on their camera phones have caught in where the mainstream media, like CNN, was trying to frame all of these Muslims and pretending like there was, you know, they were trying to set up this whole thing. And somebody on their camera was like spotting them and was filming them.
Oh, right. That was in the UK. And they were giving them directions. Okay, stand here with this sign.
And a lot of that stuff would never be seen if it wasn't for smartphones and these types of things. And I agree with you. People need to stop buying this stuff. But it's really, really hard for people to do this when there's also lots of incentive.
That's a slippery slope because now we have cameras they're posting. I mean, London, you can't walk anywhere without a camp being filmed.
Well, you know, that's different. Like, well, that's the government setting up cameras everywhere. And then there's people owning phones that have cameras on them. I don't have a problem with that. You know, the government.
You really need to look into your Google account on how much they do. I actually put a sticker on my front facing camera, and I also put a sticker on my speaker and my mic, and I use the headset. The reason why is if people in the chat should go check this. I did this exercise with a friend of mine for an hour. They were actually recording my calls. Google has recordings. I was like playing back where I was in my work meetings. I'm going, what the hell?
Oh yeah, well, Alexa and stuff, like when people got that, was like recording them and sending their messages to other people and stuff, was like recording their conversations and like dialed it and sent it to other people that they're like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? But I agree, there's all that crazy shit that goes on. But like there's just there's a lot of manipulation like in the market right now, and that makes certain phones cheaper than they normally should be, right? So like the iPhone, all these other things, like those are going to be cheaper because we allow certain companies or them or whatnot to go and go to China and build up their force there. So that also is going to help them maintain a monopoly, because now anybody who wants to compete with them is going to have to send the manufacturing to China eventually, right? So it's like we can tell people, hey, stop shopping at Walmart. They're destroying small businesses and all this stuff, but nobody listens. That's never going to stop. Nobody's ever going to stop shopping at Walmart or shopping or getting things that are cheaper, because people want to save money. They want to have a value for their dollar or whatnot.
That's why they have us by the balls.
And
I mean,
but that's the thing, though. People, this is a natural aspect of humans, and we'll always react this way. We can't expect people to just one day philosophically understand and do what's right. No, that's unreasonable to expect that of people. I know it would be great. I hope people would do that, but I have no, I don't, that's not going to happen. So what would be best is that if we just did not interact, if our governments didn't interact with these governments to begin with, didn't set up trade deals that were lopsided, that gave other people, other companies huge advantages over other people, like, big corporations to send their jobs in China or whatever, compared to if you wanted to do a startup phone company, it would be a lot harder, because what are you going to start paying your staff way more money in America compared to the pennies that they're paying to people in China and stuff, and it's also being subsidized by their government, because that's the only reason that people are sending their factories over to China. It's not because they're so much better and more industrious and all that stuff, which they are industrious people and work hard, and I don't disagree with that, but it's not because of that. It's because their government subsidized the fuck out of them, just like Canada subsidizes the what do you call it, movie industries.
Oh yeah, movie industry
in Canada. So then American Paramount, whatnot, come here and set up the movies. It's like an incentive for, but it's our fucking money, taxpayer money, and who's making, like, we're using government funds to incentivize movie companies to come here, and I guess it creates some jobs, some trucking jobs, and some people get to work in the industry. But
I don't know why we do that, because they get huge tax breaks in the US. They write off so much shit on the movie.
It's stupid. I don't know. It's just because they want them to come here, and it makes some people money. It's going to make some people money, and they want to say like, oh, look, we're bringing jobs, we're bringing this, but it just gets added on to the debt. Right. And it's
so I can watch, so they make movies so I can watch Muslims in the Prairie or whatever that stupid show was called.
Yeah. Well, that's with whole CBC programming and all that other stuff. But, with the movie industry thing, there's lots of movies that come to Winnipeg, right? Because I think Winnipeg offers some type of stuff. So lots of movies get filmed here and other places in Canada because we offer so many grants or whatnot. So it's just cheaper as hell. So of course, all these businesses are going to come here. And that's unfair. Like, now other places that maybe have, good qualifications or whatever to host movie sets are going to be left to the side because they cost a little bit more, but because they're not being, I don't know, heavily subsidized by the government. So it just creates a lopsided, interference in the market. And then at the end of the day, it's not the best person that is getting rewarded for their work. It's not the most valuable or the best constructed item for the cheapest price that is being made. It's whatever industry is more heavily subsidized or influenced by the government is going to win. And that's bullshit, right? It's like when you're playing against somebody who's a cheater, you're never going to win unless you cheat too. And that's why people are like, oh, Trump's tariffs and doing tariffs against these people. It's like, yeah, well, he has to play this game, and it's working. China is fucking admitting that now they're like, oh, we're going to sell you all these soybeans and all this other shit. We're going to buy all this stuff from you. And when it comes to China, they're losing 75% compared to America like losing 25% of the industry. So it's like, it's very lopsided. The Chinese are suffering way more. And same with the tariffs between Canada and America. Now all these people are asking Canadians or Trudeau to remove the tariffs, the retaliatory tariffs that Trump put on us, because we're not winning this fucking fight. Trump is winning it. The jobs are still going there. Everything's going, the money's still going there because of the tariffs, because he's using them correctly, right? He's using them when they need to be used, because everybody's using those tariffs against us. So we have no choice. When you're fighting, when you're playing a video game against a cheater, a screen looker who looks at your screen and stuff, then you got to fucking look at his screen back. So then you can fucking kill him. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're going to lose.
That's why the Chinese are
every single time.
That's why the Chinese are building as much as they can. They're trying to build out their domestic market. That's what they lack. So if they build out their domestic market, they'll do okay. What America has is a pretty big domestic market. There's a lot of consumers there. There's more people there, and there's a lot less consumers because a lot of them are actual workers. There is a growing middle class, but not enough to support the local economies. Right. So they're in a mad rush to build out everything so they can have people purchasing, but people don't trust a lot of the products there and stuff. It's kind of a tricky issue. Like they can be at one point very jingoistic and support their own economy. Like here, a lot of people are supporting. I was reading on South Morning Chinese Post news about they were communicating through WeChat about people going down to the courts for the new Ming trial, because they were talking about they were going to now WeChat. Yeah, and they were talking, okay, let's all go to the courts and support Ming and shit like that. These are Canadians, man. You live here in this country, you enjoy it, you get to go to see a doctor, and you're going there to support some, woman you don't know, company that doesn't give a shit about you, and her husband sits in the Communist Bureau.
Yeah.
It's kind of bizarre, right? But nevertheless, we're not just supporting China, we're supporting America, we're supporting Africa, and I'm thinking, what the fuck do we do? Because if you remember a few years ago, the Chinese had jailed a guy, not jailed, they locked him up in his own factory because it became too expensive, because the wages have been climbing steadily in China. So they he closed the factory down, and he was moving it to Vietnam, and they locked him in his factory. And there's the cops, there's the police who just stood there, and there's all these workers he's like behind the chains, he's scared, like he's locked there and he's scared to move out. All the workers are throwing shit at him, and the police are just standing around. I'm like, wow, jerk off, you deserve that. Why don't you bring your factory? Because you're not going to have that here. You're going to be protected, unless you really shit on the workers and stuff. But there's no sense of measure in this world whatsoever. And every day I find out how we are, like, it's not just recent, I mean, we were given pandas, great, wonderful, stupid, fat, black and white, dumbass bears that wouldn't survive without human intervention, because all they eat is fucking bamboo that only grows once every 17 years. So without human intervention, they'd be dead. Well, rightly so. Goodbye. We're after the survival of the fittest, and then we have to pay the Chinese to have them here, and we have to pay for the food to bring. I mean, like, wow, really? I would put them in the gator pool.
Well, and like that's increasingly going to happen. Pandering to different groups like that in our country, the more multicultural you get, because the more voting base and power they have, the bigger they become, then the more power they are going to be able to swing around, right? So when all the Chinese get really mad about something, then politicians are going to listen, and they're going to be like,
the Americans treat us like shit too, because if you think about it, we abide by the extradition laws, and then where is America? Come on, like fuck you Chinese, don't bother us Canadians.
Well, you got to see what has Canada been doing to Trump this whole fucking 2-3 years? Like during the whole in negotiations of NAFTA, the new NAFTA, they didn't talk to them for the whole month, and then she was like in Europe trying to talk to Europeans about something. I forget.
She was crying because she couldn't get the deal done.
Yeah, and then she had to rush back over the last 2-3 days, and then she did a meeting or something in like New York saying Trump is equivalent to like a dictator, and showed him like a video. It's like, of course, you're alienating all of our allies, you stupid fucks.
Like, Gerald Butch is trying to give her information while he's blowing Trudeau.
Like Trudeau, Trump did the tariffs on us, and they did the retaliatory tariffs, right? But why did he do that? He did that for a reason. It's because Canada was breaking the NAFTA agreement and getting steel from China, repackaging it, rebranding it as Canadian steel, then selling it to Americans and different NAFTA partners, which is not allowed, right? There's probably some legal loophole type thing, right? But that's not a part of the deal, right? It's supposed to be just metal between the countries. So if you're getting subsidized steel from China, repackaging it as Canadians, and then selling it at a higher price, what the fuck do you think he's gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, plus it's also, he's trying to help or get more of the industry and stuff to go back to America and stuff too. But
Raj Patel highlights that in a very small book called The Value of Nothing, and he talks about externalities in that case, like how things are really, if you factor in a lot of the cost to manufacture and get to market, how much things really should cost. And the fact that we cut our trees down, we give them all the raw materials, we put them on a ship, we send it over there, they make that shit, and they ship it back to us. So the cost of oil, the cost of shipping things overseas, and how is that cheaper?
It's just all a scheme. It's all a scheme for people to make money.
I think the elites knew, they gave themselves a 20-year head start and said, hey guys, these two countries, India and China, have huge populations. We could make a killing if we subsidize their growth. So that there was that whole thing, hey, let's try to bring China back into democracy and stuff like this. Because just 20 years ago, now granted, if you look at Germany, what happened after the Second World War, they were like nothing. They came back from just sheer willpower into becoming a very strong economic giant again in Europe.
And the IQs on average, though, right?
Well, and the Chinese do too, and they pulled out, but they would have never been able, because the Germans did it on their own, but because they were paying huge reparations to the Americans, but the Chinese were not paying any reparations. And the thing is, we helped them, and then they come and shit on us here. It's
right. One of the reasons China is wealthy too is because of what? Hong Kong. And a lot of the stuff that like the British did and changed a lot of their governments when they went there and pretty much showed them, how to like run an economy and like a functioning government and stuff. Like Hong Kong is still technically like not a part of China or something. It's supposed to be like it's kind of separate or whatever. But it's that is like a huge hub of business technology. That was like the number one place of like business, or still is today, pretty much. Like of ingenuity and all that crap, like Hong Kong. And it was, that's directly because of colonization, right? All the places that were colonized tend to look better than the places that weren't. Because when, it's just like when the Romans came in, they were like, you know what? But they built aqueducts.
Yeah.
They did all this shit. They set up a civilization, and people's lives were better after they left. But this is a whole lie with the whole colonization thing. It's like, bad things happen. People's rights were taken away. That's all bad and all these things, right? But, every place that the British and stuff colonized, oftentimes they, stopped a lot of barbaric practices that were going on in a lot of these different cultures. Like in India, they used to, and when a man died, they would throw the widow on the fire and watch her burn with the husband. And they came and they stopped that. They stopped a bunch of the other, barbaric fucking shit, and it kind of civilized people. But no, all bad, nothing good about it. Yada, 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 yada. And it's like, whatever.
Well, I think overall, in this respect, I think humans are extremely butcherous to other humans. I mean, in the UK, they used to torture people by cutting them in half, straight from the ball ass right to the middle of your skull, and do horrible shit to one another. And it was the English with Magna Carta who started, taking that stuff away. But there's a lot of barbarous acts that continue today. Middle East, parts of Africa. They're enslaving now. In Ethiopia, and they're capturing the slaves there, and they're having a slave, very big slave trade.
Right. It's huge. It's a massive slave trade, but nobody wants to. No, you just want to bring up this because you don't want to take responsibility for the slavery that you caused in America. It's like, no, it's because this is happening today. Slavery in America and colonization in Canada, whatever, happened hundreds of years ago, or like more than 100, 200 years ago. But anytime we're like, oh, what about all the slavery going on in Egypt? Oh, you're just bringing this up for whatever reason. You're like, you can't even bring that up to a leftist, though. Like I said, like they're just, it's like not an argument to them. It's like you're trying to skirt the subject and bring up something else. It's like, how long do we have to talk about the bad things we did in our history? How fucking long do we have to be like, yeah, slavery is bad. We did slavery. We should have never done slavery. It's like, what do you want? We can never.
We had, I think it was 2 centuries of the Atlantic slave trade. It was 15 for the Barbary slave trade.
Right.
So, and they were capturing slaves from, the Middle East, from Africa, Spain, the Horn of Spain, Portugal. I mean, give me a break. When they talk about slaves, it's like, yeah, okay, that was kind of a dark chapter, but a lot of people kind of turned their ways. The thing between South and North wasn't really over slavery. It was over, marketing disputes and land disputes, because the North wanted to control the South. And then the same thing with the Vietnam War. The Vietnam wasn't about, it was a proxy war, but it wasn't about, the communism and capitalism. It was a war about tin deposits, because at that time, tin deposits were running short in Mexico, and there was huge tin deposits in Vietnam. So they staged all these flag, the false flag incidences, and they got into a bullshit war that wasn't really necessary. And that's how it goes. We keep doing the same shit over and over again, and people, that's what bothers me about, like, when people say, oh, we need to support this politician, but we've been doing this for how fucking long? I'm so sick of it. I should be able, you fucking deviate from what you say, I should be able to walk you and smack your teeth in. Just nice man slap, and then just, have your nose rearranged, and so it goes 360 degrees and comes right back to the front of your face. There you go. I give you one more chance. Do what you said you were going to do. Don't deviate. And I guarantee you, people would start seeing real change. But you can't touch them. They are the untouchables, like they are in India.
I think that's kind of one of the problems too, though, is that we have this idea that we need a leader to make changes and stuff like that, like set up change and make things all better. But I agree, like that's probably never going to happen. I don't think we're ever going to create a system that is going to hold politicians and leaders accountable. I don't think we can ever devise a system that is perfect enough not to eventually degrade into what we have today, and the type of system where people create loopholes to get around all this stuff, and lawyers come in, write all these new laws. Like, maybe there is, I'm not sure, maybe there is a system we could create that is extremely hard to exploit and get around and do all that stuff, but that's difficult. The Constitution of America, all that stuff was pretty good. It's pretty well written. There's a lot of
it's better than our Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Way better. And there's a lot of things to try to prevent, corruption. But slowly over time, new amendments came in and amended things, changed things, slowly altered it, slowly made it into what it is essentially today. So it's like, that is, I think, one of the major problems, is that we're always looking for somebody that is going to make everything better, right? And switch the system around. But I don't know if I don't think that's ever really going to happen. Maybe temporarily, and somebody can come in, they have our best interest at heart and temporarily shift some things, but that's always only going to be temporary. Then it's going to revert back to somebody else who isn't like that. And, you know, how are you going to make a system to hold them accountable when in reality, you know, if we got away from this idea that we need leaders, that we need people to have control of resources, our resources, and make decisions for them. Why can't we all just be free? You know, it's like, why can't we all just be free? Why can't we have no leaders? This doesn't mean I don't believe in hierarchy like a fucking communist or socialist. Of course, we should have hierarchy and we should listen to elders and we should have bosses and employees and all this stuff. But do we need leaders? Do we need people to change all these things for us? And I think as soon as we're always going to be stuck in this cyclical cycle of what we're in right now, as long as we always have the idea that we need a leader, which is essentially us needing a government. That's like, you know, you try to break that mind mentality and people say, maybe we don't need a government. Well, who will build the roads? Well, who will defend the country? Well, who will do this? You know, they got all these excuses of why we need leaders and leadership, people telling us what to do, when in reality it's like, no, just be free, just don't hurt anybody, don't kill anybody, and nobody will kill you.
I got a plan. Why don't we help the poor on the streets? You know, we'll give them like $100, and every time Trudeau goes to like a rally, we'll send them there. We'll get them to start yelling, "You suck!" And we'll give them a bottle of booze while they're drinking, and you know, we pay them. We're helping them out. We make them happy, and we won't get in trouble.
Right.
We want to see what he's gonna do, and he's gonna, if he jails the bunch of winos, they'll have a nice place to stay overnight. They won't be fighting for a Muslim there, for a place. They'll get a meal. It works out, man.
Right.
What do you think?
Good idea.
Now, I want to ask you, what do you think about what happened? I don't know if you saw Faith Goldie's. I think she's a sweetheart. Again, I don't know her well enough. I know Derek Rance, Derek, whatever. He met up with her.
Rance Derek, get it right.
Sorry, Rance Derek. I apologize.
Jesus.
Take my apology, please, please. I'm begging you.
Racist.
So he met up with Faith Goldie, and he said, you know, they had a good time and stuff. And she looks like a sweetheart, you know, attractive woman, nice. I don't like where her allegiances lie. Again, I said that before, but she went to pay Bell Canada I think it was $49,000. She had a check. She was almost in tears that she had to go pay these people for what? Because she went and took them to court because they wouldn't publish something that she had already paid. Wow, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
How the court charged her and
yeah,
like for, and then made her pay Bell back, like the money like or something. Yeah,
no, it wasn't paid back. She I think she
or not paid back. Yeah, just pay the money.
Yeah, a fine.
Yeah, no, I did a video on that. I remember, like, or I think I did. Maybe I started to, but yeah, that's totally insane. And I saw a lot of people like defending it, being like, "Oh, ha, 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 this is what you get." And it's like, it makes me have very little faith in the country anymore when I see all of these people laughing and thinking this is a great idea. And I'm like, really, you want the judge to make like private individuals like this pay monopoly companies like Bell Media large sums of money because they sued them for not allowing them to speak and have a platform which they are supposed to allow them to have? And then you got these stupid liberal fucking dumbasses being like, "Oh, well, it's the free market. Oh, they can choose." And, you know, they're only okay with it when it, you know, censors or discriminates against a person on the right, Republican, you know, whatever, conservative. And, you know, it's just so fucking transparent. It makes no fucking sense. But it's,
I'm reading the chat here.
Private companies anyways.
I'm reading the chat here, and they're saying, like, you know, she had to pay the court costs for the Bell's lawyers. But, you know, many times you could actually plead with the court that you don't have those kinds of funds, because she said, like, she had to clear out her accounts, and there were some people that helped her give her money. I mean, that was a huge amount. So
it's like,
what court? It was like
women who make false rape accusations, do they get do they have to pay for this shit? Do they get to go to prison and stuff? A lot of times they don't. Like, you know, like I don't know. But go ahead, sorry.
Well, if I was her, I'd take that. I'd have a nice dinner. I'd go to Taco Bell, eat a bunch of burritos, take a shit, and then wipe that check off with my ass, or you know, with my ass, you know, take that check and wipe it, and then give it to the lawyers. Right. Here you go.
Yeah, no, I understand paying the lawyer costs and all that stuff, but it's still fucking bullshit. She should have won that case because I don't know what loophole they read into the rules, but I'm pretty sure the rules even stated that every candidate is allowed to have a certain amount of time allocated to them, or they're not allowed to be denied. And you got to remember that fucking Bell is a fucking essentially monopoly, especially in Toronto. They don't allow competitors to come in. So yeah, I would be fine with them discriminating if there's actually a free market and there was other companies that she could go to get her message out. But they have a fucking, like I say, monopoly. They don't allow competitors in. And now it's apparently a free fucking market. I'm like, you know, fuck you, all asshole people who say that shit. And you know, it's bullshit that she had to pay, even if it's for lawyer fees or whatever. The fact that she lost is bullshit. The fact that she was denied is bullshit. Doesn't matter if you like or dislike Faith Goldie.
She didn't lose. She didn't even get to hear. They didn't even. And how much time did these lawyers? 46.
Oh, sorry, did you? Oh, you cut out a little bit there.
2 days, a week.
Right.
It was instant. So what are they charging? Are they billing Bell $20K, and then Bell's also taking another $20K? Something's off. I don't know. When people say that she's paying the court costs, like what kind of court costs are these? Fucking Dubai?
Yeah, right. Like, did they have like 16 lawyers on their fucking side, like, you know, working for like a day? And like, how much do these people get paid a fucking hour? Like,
I bet you this is what happened. The lawyers got together with Bell, and it says, okay, the judge would take a 10K hit, just give him 10,000,
right?
Paid him off because they didn't even go to trial. It just boop.
Yeah, because imagine the precedent that would have set if they did go to trial, and then, you know, she won. Then they wouldn't be able to censor people.
Right.
And they don't want to do that. So, you know, I don't know how the fucking judge read it because, you know, judges, they can't make just necessarily arbitrary decisions, right? Like they have to use the framework of the charter or whatever. And so, but they can read it very liberally and stuff. And you're like, you know, you see, well, they say they have to have a basis in the charter, but I've seen so many decisions of courts and stuff recently where I'm like, what? Like, how did you make this decision? Like the Supreme Court, and they explain their reasoning behind why they made their decision. And oftentimes it just doesn't make any sense. You're like, I don't see how they looked into the Constitution or the Charter of Rights and found legitimacy to silence these people, or to you know, like the Your Ward News and stuff, like they have their Charter of Rights, but the judge, you know, found that their Charter of Rights didn't matter as much as the Charter of Rights as other people not to be fucking offended or have their dignity assaulted or something, right? So it's just so fucking subjective to begin with. So it's like we don't even have these rights to begin with, like freedom of speech. It's so subjective, you know, depending on the lawyer or the judge.
Well, the judges seem to be making the laws today anyway now.
Well, look at this judge in Kansas I saw today. Kansas judge calls girl 13 and 14 the aggressor in a child sex solicitation case. And this guy gave this 67-year-old fucking rapist, Raymond Sodden, like half the time of the minimum sentence of like 12 years. He gave him like 6 years because he's like, well, the girls kind of seemed like they wanted it, and they didn't show up for the court case and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, 13-year-old girl. And now, like, you got this judge making these decisions on that. No, there should be a mandatory, like, I don't know, minimum or something for pedophilia of at least 20 fucking years. But I don't know. These judges do have way too much power in America and in Canada. Well, no, they'll just be killed.
Good.
But They don't put them in general population though. So this guy's going to be okay for 6 years probably, and then he'll get out and live on his own somewhere.
You know what? We should bring back electroshock therapy. You know,
Right.
for guys like this, just yank it all the way up, and or you know, bring back lobotomies. Just lobotomize these losers.
But like this judge who made this decision too, it's like the reasoning behind it. I was like, man, they should look into this judge to see if he's like a fucking pedophile, because, you know, like, what the fuck? It makes absolutely no sense to me that you would, it's like, well, the girls kind of wanted it. It's like, that doesn't matter, man. If the girl's like 12 years old, is that going to be, if you had a 12-year-old daughter and she got fucked by some dude, are you going to buy that excuse?
Was Hillary Clinton on the case?
Right. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Oh, they wanted it. But this guy looks like such a fucking pet pedo as well. Like, I'll share the article in the chat. But he looks so fucking pedophilic, like, to begin with. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I gotta read his decision again because it was pretty ridiculous.
Well, that's the new hype, right? It's you know, the pedophilia is the new thing. We have to feel sorry for him. Like that. What was that woman that did a TED Talk? Oh shit! Fuck. Oh man, yeah. This guy's he looks like that guy from South Park.
Right.
When Peter's son always walks by. No, it wasn't South Park. Sorry, it was Family Guy. You know who I'm talking about? That old man.
Yeah. Hey boys, hi. Put your hands in my pants.
You do a great.
I got a chocolate bar in my pants.
That's it.
Yeah. That fag. That is exactly what he fucking looks like.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what he looks like. Pretty close to that, actually. Yeah, you know, like he looks like a pedophile. I wouldn't let my kids anywhere near that guy ever. But he contacted them online on Facebook, and they agreed to meet up or whatever, and then exchange money for sex and all that crap. And it's like, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe these little girls or whatever were like that, and we're, you know, looking for money or whatnot. But that to me, it doesn't really matter, man. If you're fucking kids like that age, their brains are not developed. They're not, you know. They were probably abused, taken advantage of. That's why they're fucking doing this shit. And you're just going there and abusing them more. You know, like a lot of hookers and prostitutes, if people use them, a good thing to remember is that a lot of those people are very, very damaged individuals. They're very, very, you know, most people aren't prostitutes because they're well adjusted and they had a mom and a dad in the family. You know that you're using a girl that was probably viciously abused, sexually abused by fucking relatives, other people from a very young age and shit. And like, for this judge to be like, oh, well, they were kind of looking for it, you know, if these people were of age, I think he brought up, oh, if people were of age and they did this, it wouldn't be something or whatever, but they're not of age. These are brains that are not fully developed. And the way this judge thinks, I'm like, you know, he needs to be investigated. He needs to be investigated and lose his fucking job.
Yeah, no, this guy looks like a total sicko. What the fuck is happening with our society?
Right. I'm gonna take a bong rip here. I gotta watch out though. I'll probably get removed from YouTube if this gets.
Yeah, we gotta be careful.
Oh well, I don't give a shit.
No. You know. Oh, I want to mention something too. I know you gave that guy, I forgot his name, mod rights on your Discord, right?
Yeah.
Just be careful. I don't know if you know the guy or not, because Whitaker came out with a thing this morning. He's like doing daily morning shows on Stream.me now. Pretty interesting. And he was talking about Discord, and it seems like it's run by fur fags. Because any mention about like furries and shit like that, they ban your ass off of Discord. So it seems like, and he's got some texts there and stuff from these discussions about these guys, like people who run Discord, you know, having those affiliations, and if you say anything against it, they kick you off. So just be careful.
Against furries and shit?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Well, fucking yeah. I know those people are fucked up, but I gotta watch out. Yeah. You know. I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Like the people who moderate it?
People who
Like,
moderate, yep. Maybe even in some cases who run it. So they're actually, he said they were being investigated. I don't know. I don't know if Chad watches watches like mid-occur and stuff, but yeah, apparently they're being investigated now, and not a not a good time for Discord.
no, right? And people have been saying that for a long time now, not to use Discord. And I remember people saying that like a year or so ago because a lot of people were being like, you know, a lot of alt-right and stuff were being charged and stuff through their Discord with that whole Charlottesville thing. They were looking at their Discords and being like, oh, your people in your Discord were saying they were going to run over people with a car and all this. And they used all that as justification, you know, to charge them and more evidence. So yeah, you got to be careful, and you got to have definitely moderators maybe on there and rules set up. Hey, don't talk about this. Don't talk about that, whatever. So then maybe you could use that as like, you know, say like, hey, no, I'm clearly against that. People are talking without my permission about this stuff or whatever, like about hurting people or using violence. So yeah, you got to be careful because it's guilt by association nowadays.
Well, there was a lot of gay ops there. I know you mentioned Sargoy a while ago, but he was with. There was a lot of shit going on with and Donkasa,
right,
and
yeah, a lot of gay ops going on there.
So this was, you got to be careful, you know, who you know. Like I when I go in, I'm just limited to certain channels like yours and Ralph Retort. But,
right.
so now they're being investigated because apparently it's being run by furries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fuck.
People keep talking about 5G in your chat here. You want to talk about 5G?
You don't have 5G, you're okay. Oh, well, that's the whole, like, you know, the Huawei company. That's what they were going to set up, the 5G in Canada, which is fucked up.
They just signed on to with Sony Ericsson.
Yeah, Nokia. They're going to do that.
Nokia, yeah.
With Finnish company or something like that.
Yeah, they're gonna fry your brains. They want to fry your brains.
Right. I don't know anything about 5G, but I hear a lot of things about it, like it's bad for you and whatnot. But I don't really know anything about the effects of it or anything like that, or what it's going to do to your brain. But I just knew that Huawei was going to set it up, and nobody trusts the Huawei company. Any ways to set up of the Five Eyes community, so like Australia, United States, Canada, or well, not Canada lets them in, but we're the only country that does because we're stupid, and lets you know that Trudeau is completely paid off and bought essentially by the Chinese government. You know what I mean? Like for them to even a deal like this with them, you know, that's all you really need to know, in my opinion, of like whose interests they really care about. They don't care about average Canadians. They care about whoever pays them more money or whatever, gives them the best deal, because they're selling us out.
I read an article a couple of days ago. They switched on in Norway. They switched on the 5G to run a test, and all the birds dropped out of the sky.
Really?
Yeah. The ducks in the water were okay, but they were acting a little weird. But all the songbirds just dropped dead out of the sky in that area. So I don't know. You know, because like if you watch a lot of scientists, they say the jury's out. They're not making any statements and saying this is completely safe. They don't know. They actually hypothesize that the fat layers in the skin should absorb. But what was making those people at the Cuban embassy, the Americans in the Cuban embassy, so sick?
I heard that could have been a cricket. Somebody said that it was like a cricket reverberating, and it was like the sound reverberations or something. And like
what?
Yeah, I heard something like that. I heard that from Styx. As he was talking about that on his channel. He's saying something about the whole thing in the Cuban embassy could have been attributed to like a cricket. And that honestly, that could make Like, what incentive do Cubans have to do that to Canadian embassy people? You know what I mean? Because like Canada is like Cuba's ally in a sense that like we allow them to do a lot compared to what other countries allow. Like we do a lot of trading with them. We do a lot. We allow a lot of like we allow as much trade as we want. Like whenever you travel to Cuba, you can bring as much stuff as you want, essentially from Canada to bring there for the people, right? Whereas like if you're coming from America, you can't do that. They don't allow you to do that. So like Cubans love Canada. They love Canadians a lot of the time. So it would make no sense to me that they would do that. I thought it was really weird that they did that to Canadians in their embassy, right? But they were, theorizing.
Yeah, it could have been an insider. You could have a device that could you could plug in somewhere in the corner, and then it just unleashes a certain pitch that you can't. It's inaudible, and it affects how you think. Because they use the same sound. I guess you would call them sound wave attacks. Remember the Waco, Texas, and they were going against those people who were holed up in that encampment. And then they put up those like huge speakers, and they would just play AC/DC 24/7 until they went nuts and burned their compound down to the ground.
Right.
But I think they were called Branch Davidians. So, but I think 5G is. I think we need to. Even now, they're admitting now to take your phone, because it's through Wi-Fi in the wavelengths, to keep it when you go to sleep, to keep it at an arm's distance away or turn the Wi-Fi off.
Right.
And they're slowly admitting, if you can find circulations out there that talk about that the findings, because it takes time, right? They can't just instantly find if there's an issue within a year or two. These are generational studies, and they're now just discovering that yes, cell phones actually do impact, could lead to cancer. And some are now saying that it's even that it does have, the phones is like they offer it as a carcinogen, right? The wavelength, and that was a big concern when they took off the antennas from the old phones, when they started burying the antennas into the actual body of the units, because before the antenna would float outside of the actual device, you weren't putting it right against your ear.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there's the thing is, we're all just what do you call it, test subjects for a lot of stuff, right? And there's no way of knowing what the effects of a lot of this technology or whatnot until you see things generations. You have to have generational studies essentially to actually know the effects of what this stuff is going to have. So nobody knows. We're all just being experimented upon, and we're all going to find out the effects 10 or 20 years down the road when people start getting cancer or whatever. And they'll be like, oh, okay, that was a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. But yeah, it's, we're not going to know until it's essentially too late. And same with like, stuff with like diets and all that stuff. We're all being experimented upon. We don't know what diet and stuff like that is good for you unless you do like a generational study. So anybody who says like, this is the diet and we know for a fact, blah, 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 is, especially if it's new, is most likely lying to you, because there's no way you could tell that unless you wait and see how people are affected by that through multiple generations, right? Otherwise, you won't really be able to tell. So yeah, we're being experimented upon. We won't know what this is.
Well, let's think about it for a second. So 5G is a short wavelength. So you need a lot more towers. You need to expend a lot more money to have something that is just a marginal improvement in terms of communication. Like in a lot of parts of Europe, they're not running 5G. They're running fiber optic everywhere. So if you plug your computer in right now into an AJ45 jack, it'll be a lot faster than it's on your Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter how strong your router is, your wireless router is, or how strong your wireless net card is. It doesn't matter, because once you plug in through that cable, it's a lot faster. Even fiber optics is insanely fast. So I don't understand. So then you have to think, okay, why we have 4G. It works fine enough. Like, how much faster do you need to put a picture on Instagram? So what are you really? And they're saying, and I watched some, some YouTubers who have some background in physics and stuff, that they say that they can triangulate with the waves and use it almost as like a microwave imaging tool.
Right.
So and you're being now bombarded with shorter wavelengths that displace, I mean, we have to worry about free ion, what do they call it? Free ions or something from the sun. They knock out molecules and stuff. So, or flying on a plane, you get radiated. But now we're going to be radiating ourselves constantly. We'll be bathing in a fluid of wavelengths that I don't think humanity's ever experienced. And if it's true, if the story is true that these birds just drop dead when they flip the switch on, because I used to work in networks. Like, you'd have to, the power to run this shit, you'd have to take it's all DC power. You have to take all of your jewelry off and stuff, and you can't stay around it too long when you're working around that stuff. And now we're going to up the power just to run these antennas. I don't know.
Yeah, it's they don't care, right? But at the same time, it's weird because the people enacting that stuff or getting it done, like, I don't know, maybe they have something to protect themselves against these rays and radio waves, but wouldn't they be subjecting themselves to these things too? Like,
I don't know. Are they going to put them in their neighborhoods?
Right.
See,
I guess, right? If they just do it for us and they keep themselves 5G free or something, maybe, like, because it's like, yeah, I'm not too sure, right? Like, that's the only thing I'm thinking about. It's like, wouldn't they be also bombarding themselves with all of this stuff? They'd be taking a risk too. Like, rich people get cancer too, right? You know what I mean? Like, so, well, and I don't know. I don't know about, like I said, I haven't looked into 5G, so I don't know anything about it. But like what you're saying, all those birds drop dead, and just judging by the way it sounds, like, do we even need it? Is it even necessary? Should we be experimenting with this stuff? Like, yeah, we don't know the long-term effects of it either, but I think a good question would be like, yeah, do we even need it? Because what does it do? It just makes it faster. Things connect faster, I guess, is what they're saying.
Because most people today are data hogs on their phones. So what that would allow them to amplify the data on these networks. So it would do these hops. But the problem is that you're already putting voice and data through the air. So in order to duplicate or multiply the amount of data to send to a phone, you would have to amplify the power. But if you amplify the power, it's like doing the same thing like you're doing in a microwave. Because how does a microwave work? It works on wavelengths. And those wavelengths excite molecules. And you excite molecules and you heat things up. So what the fuck are we doing to ourselves?
Yeah, right. Exactly, right. If we're just doing it at a lower degree, and we're like, don't worry, it's not going to harm you. But would you want to be put in a microwave? See what happens to you, essentially? Or like have microwaves being shot at you constantly? So yeah, definitely, just by knowing how it works already, you would assume it can't be good for us. But
Gator gave a
link there. Yeah, I saw that. The tech radar there.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's the thing. I got to do more research on it. So maybe I'll read that article that he linked, because yeah, I'm still kind of ignorant about a lot of 5G and exactly what it does. But, I just know I wouldn't want the Huawei company at the very least setting it up for us if we were ever to get it, right? Like, if it's not as bad as they say, at the very least, I don't want China doing it. But it probably is, but we'll see, Right, I'm going to look into it. Soup can technology attack unless you had scissors or a knife. But I think this stream's been going on for quite a while now. I think I'll probably end it right about now.
I'm gonna grab a beer.
Back to work. Are you working right now still, or what?
Yeah, I've been working in the background while we've been talking.
Oh, nice.
The wicked never rest, right? And in this country, if you want to earn a livable wage, you have to work 12 hours a day.
Right. No, exactly. Right. If you want to have, especially house, wife, kids, you got to work as a slave. Car.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for joining me, man. I appreciate you coming by. I like your conversations. We'll do this again.
Sure.
Pretty soon.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. All right, dude.
All right.
Have a good one, guys. Peace. End this broadcast here.